Chapter 691. In just 2 breaths of time, Ing Daoqi and Taishan's clothes turned into nothingness. Their muscles melted and disappeared, and then their bones began to crackle. The terrifying temperature of the purple space was actually burning from the outside to the inside. Even if the two of them were in the eternal realm, they couldn't delay it for even a breath of time. Ing Daoqi let out a shrill scream. He raised his hand and took out an escape talisman. In just a breath of time, the escape talisman turned into a ball of white light that swept up Ing Daoqi, who was only left with a skeleton, and disappeared without a trace. Shadow Daoqi's skeleton escaped, but Taishan wasn't so lucky. A few breaths after Ing Daoqi left, he was turned into nothingness. There were many cultivators training outside the Thousand Mound Forest. However, after entering the Thousand Mound Forest for 150,000 kilometers, the number of cultivators there dwindled. Ning Cheng had already ventured nearly 1,000,000 miles into the depths of the Thousand Mound Forest. He knew that even if Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator were in the Thousand Mound Forest, it would not be easy for him to find them. The Thousand Mound Forest covered a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. But because there were too many natural array formations and top-grade demonic beasts, even Ning Cheng's starry sky sea of consciousness couldn't cover a large area. Boom boom. A burst of celestial essence explosions alarmed Ning Cheng, who was still looking for people in the Thousand Mound Forest. It was already the 3rd day since Ning Cheng started his search in the Thousand Mound Forest. This level of celestial essence fluctuation indicated that it was at least created by a powerhouse in the life and death realm or above. Ning Cheng did not think much about it, and immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng finally stopped. A tall male cultivator and a demonic cultivator were currently fighting. The male cultivator had the cultivation of Eternal Realm. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over him, and immediately understood that this cultivator had sustained heavy injuries. The demonic cultivator was also a starry sky grade 9 cultivator with a leopard's head and a human body. He exuded a tyrannical power from head to toe. From the messy ground around them, it could be seen that the man and the demon had been fighting for a long time. Baoshi, you and I have minded our own business. You've been fighting me for a day and a night, and you're still being unreasonable? The man said hatefully. The leopard-headed monstrous cultivator grinned. Zhu Zhengfeng, when I went to Mai City and asked you for a pot of none to depend on, what did you say? He called me an animal and told me to get lost. I was going to settle the score with you after a while, but now that you've walked right into my trap, do you think I'll let you go? Is it Zhu Zhengfeng? Ning Cheng immediately understood he also knew about this person. The leader of the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce was the one who stole the Interdependence wine from the Mo family. Since this person appeared here, he most likely wanted to hunt down the blue-robed female cultivator. Who is it? Ning Cheng's mood fluctuated slightly, which was immediately perceived by Baoshi. Ning Cheng didn't answer at all. Instead, he directly brought out a Dao artifact long spear and shot it out. As soon as Ning Cheng's long spear shot out, Baoshi and Zhu Zhengfeng simultaneously felt a majestic imposing aura pressing down on them. As a sharp murderous intent instantly wrapped around Zhu Zhengfeng. Such a strong killing intent. Yet Zhu Zhengfeng was still unable to grasp where the spear intent was. Baoshi immediately understood that this person was helping him sneak attack Zhu Zhengfeng. No matter what the other party's intentions were, Baoshi would definitely not miss this perfect opportunity. At the same time, a huge claw shadow blasted over. Zhu Zhengfeng had already suffered serious injuries from Ing Daoqi's sneak attack, while Baoshi, who was on the same level as him, had also fought with him for a day and a night. At this time, when Ning Cheng launched a sneak attack, he unexpectedly could not find the source of Ning Cheng's killing intent. At this time, Baoshi's giant claw once again blasted over. By the time Zhu Zhengfeng brought out a weapon to block Baoshi's giant claw, Ning Cheng's spear shadow had already broken through his domain. It was not until this moment that Zhu Zhengfeng discovered where Ning Cheng's spear shadow's killing intent was. This spear was invisible and had already reached his heart. Poof! Ning Cheng's Dao artifact long spear tore through Zhu Zhengfeng's body like a cotton cloth. As the killing intent of the spear twisted, Zhu Zhengfeng screamed out in pain. His meridians ruptured inch by inch, and even his life essence started to feel a sharp pain. Zhu Zhengfeng's life essence had just overflowed when Baoshi reached out and grabbed it. With a flash of demonic fire, Zhu Zhengfeng's screams came out. Ningqing didn't care about Zhu Zhengfeng's life essence at all, and directly grabbed Zhu Zhengfeng's ring. Almost at the same time that Baoshi destroyed Zhu Zhengfeng's life essence, Ningqing also grabbed Zhu Zhengfeng's ring. "Young man, your courage is not small. You even dared to snatch something from my hands." Baoshi loosened his grip, and Zhu Zhengfeng's lifeless corpse fell to the ground. Ningqing put Zhu Zhengfeng's ring on his finger and spoke in a calm voice. "Why do I remember that this ring belonged to Zhu Zhengfeng? Oh, is Zhu Zhengfeng your avatar?" Baoshi laughed in anger. "Then let me see how much confidence you have." With a wave of his hand, a huge claw shadow descended. When the claw shadow came out, it looked exactly the same as when Ningqing had seen Baoshi grabbing towards Zhu Zhengfeng. However, when the claw shadow reached Ningqing's head, it had already turned into a boundless sky. Although this claw shadow fell from the sky, at this moment, the entire ground trembled. Ningqing's domain gave off a caw-caw sound, just like a spider's web splitting apart. As the violent imposing aura pressed down on him, Ningqing felt that even breathing had become difficult. At this moment, the Dao artifact long spear in his hand felt as heavy as 1,000 caddies. Even moving it up a little bit was extremely difficult. Ningqing felt shocked in his heart. He had once killed a cultivator who had just entered the life and death realm. Coupled with his recent rapid progress in cultivation, although he knew that he couldn't compare to an eternal level powerhouse, he didn't think that the difference would be too big. Now he finally understood that there was still a gap between him and an eternal level powerhouse. Moreover, this gap was not small. If Zhu Zhengfeng hadn't been seriously injured and Baoshi hadn't suppressed him, he might not have been able to sneak attack him. Ningqing knew that he couldn't retreat at this time. He crazily stimulated his celestial essence and brought out the Dao artifact long spear. In the next moment, his long spear turned into a giant pillar that reached the sky and met the terrifying claw shadow that was crashing down with a loud bang. Boom! The claw shadow slammed into Ningqing's long spear, and a powerful backlash erupted, causing Ningqing's bones to make caw-caw sounds. Boom boom! The claw shadow continued to press down, as if the sky itself was constantly pressing down. The Dao artifact long spear, like Ningqing, gave off a caw-caw sound under the suppression. The ground under Ningqing's feet began to crack and slowly spread out. At this moment, Ningqing's legs started to tremble. He found that his strategy had gone wrong. He shouldn't have fought against this Baoshi using celestial essence. At this time, Ningqing did not hesitate to shoot out dozens of spiritual consciousness blades. He wanted to blow away Baoshi's terrifying claw shadow first. Almost at the same time as Ningqing shot out dozens of spiritual consciousness blades, Baoshi's giant claw unexpectedly lifted up. Ningqing had just relaxed a little when the giant claw once again pressed down. This time, its imposing aura was more than twice as strong as before. Damn it, Ningqing cursed in his heart. This demonic cultivator was truly cunning. Cha! A sound similar to a knife cutting through cotton rang out in Ningqing's ears. However, Ningqing's expressions immediately turned ugly. His spiritual consciousness blades couldn't penetrate Baoshi's sea of consciousness at all. It only managed to slow down Baoshi's giant claw shadow. Catcha! Even so, Ningqing's Dao artifact long spear broke under the suppression. The moment the claw shadow created by the spiritual consciousness blades slowed down, Ningqing retreated a few hundred feet and landed outside of Baoshi's giant claw. Baoshi's dark face turned red. Although he had the absolute upper hand in the clash with Ningqing, he couldn't do anything to Ningqing. If I didn't guess wrong, your cultivation should not have reached the life and death realm. A cultivator who hasn't even reached the life and death realm turned out to be so powerful. Moreover, you even have a spiritual consciousness cultivation method. It's worth it for me to make a move. Baoshi took a step forward, and the few hundred feet of distance between him and Ningqing turned into nothingness with just one step. Ningqing stretched out his hand and grabbed the imperial jade seal. Facing Baoshi with such powerful celestial essence and spiritual consciousness, Ningqing wasn't sure if his sunset's twilight could succeed. However, the imperial jade seal was filled with the power of hope, and he had already refined a part of it. Therefore, he could use it to bombard Baoshi. Despite preparing his means, Ningqing did not take the initiative to attack. Instead, he calmly looked at Baoshi and said, "Brother Bao, if I were you, I wouldn't make a move." Baoshi laughed again. "Whatever means you have, just show it. I, Baoshi, would like to see it." Ningqing spoke up in a calm voice. "Brother Bao, I'm not your opponent right now, but it's impossible for you to kill me. I can walk away at any time. If you don't believe me, you can try it." Baoshi froze for a moment before frowning. If Ningqing walked away, then even if he won, he wouldn't get the ring. Ningqing, on seeing Baoshi frown, spoke up in an even more unhurried tone. "Brother Bao, are you still thinking about the ring? In my opinion, you'd better think about yourself first." "Are you threatening me?" Baoshi raised his eyebrows and his killing intent spread out. Ningqing didn't fear Baoshi at all. "Regardless of whether I'm threatening you or not, I just want to say that you guessed it right. I'm only in the heaven-seated realm. You can think about it. I'm not afraid of you in the heaven-seated realm. But if you offend me today and I advance to the eternal realm in the future, do you think I'll let you go? Even if you walk away, you still have your disciples and grand-disciples here, right? My hands aren't soft." Baoshi's heart skipped a beat. This was what he feared the most. Ningqing's words weren't wrong at all. If he pushed this person too hard, then this person would just walk away. Not only would he not get anything, but he would also end up making a strong enemy in the future. If it were an ordinary cultivator, then he, Baoshi, wouldn't fear it at all. But this fellow, just in the heaven-seated realm, was already so difficult to deal with. If he really advanced to the eternal realm in the future, then Ningqing, seeing Baoshi being intimidated, spoke up. "Brother Bao, it's not that I can't leave, but I need your help with something. Of course, if Brother Bao has something to say, I won't refuse it. If I can help Brother Bao, I won't refuse." Baoshi hesitated for a while before taking in a deep breath and speaking. "I just want a pot of real none to depend on wine. Zhu Zhengfeng has it in his ring." Ningqing showed a slight smile. Brother Bao should have said it earlier. Not to mention a pot, even 2 pots wouldn't matter. Chapter 692. Baoshi still regretted it in his heart. If he hadn't been in a hurry to kill Zhu Zhengfeng and had instead snatched the ring, it would have ended up in his hands by now. Zhu Zhengfeng's ring definitely wasn't simple, but it was a pity. While Baoshi was still regretting, Ningqing had already opened Zhu Zhengfeng's ring and took out 2 pots of none to depend on wine. Seeing Ningqing open Zhu Zhengfeng's ring at an extremely fast speed and take out 2 pots of wine for himself, Baoshi felt even more fearful. Even if an eternal-level cultivator fell, it would not be easy to open the restrictions on his ring. Ningqing easily opened Zhu Zhengfeng's ring, which showed that Ningqing was a top-grade array formation master. Baoshi, who wanted to make friends with Ningqing, put away the 2 pots of none to depend on wine, and took the initiative to speak to Ningqing. "I don't know what this friend needs my help with." Ningqing was still marveling at Zhu Zhengfeng's wealth. But when he heard Baoshi's words, he quickly put aside the ring and spoke with a smile. "Brother Bao, I have 2 friends who entered the Thousand-Mound Forest. Zhu Zhengfeng should be chasing after my 2 friends. Since Brother Bao is the landlord here, I want to ask Brother Bao about their location." Baoshi hesitated for a moment before taking out a jade strip and handing it to Ningqing. "I, Baoshi, will make friends with you. The Thousand-Mound Forest covers a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. My territory is only this area, but I got news that a day ago, there was a large fluctuation of essence chi in the southeast. Maybe you can go and have a look. I've already marked the specific location on the jade strip." Ningqing took the jade strip and cupped his fists. "Many thanks, Brother Bao. My name is Ningqing, and I'll also make friends with Brother Bao. I'll go look for my friends first. If I have time in the future, I'll definitely visit Brother Bao." Talking to a demonic cultivator felt refreshing, and didn't need to beat around the bush. If Duan Gantai had said that he wanted to make friends with Ningqing, Ningqing would have definitely thought that Duan Gantai wanted to scheme against him. However, Ningqing didn't doubt Baoshi's words. He and Baoshi had no conflict of interest. Since Baoshi said that he wanted to make friends with him, it meant that he recognized him. Before Ningqing left, he suddenly remembered something. "Brother Bao, I also want to inquire about the Thousand-Mound Forest. Where can I find sifting fairy grass? You want sifting fairy grass? Baoxi's eyes flashed with surprise. Ningqing nodded. A friend of mine needs it, so I just wanted to ask. Baoxi remained silent for a moment before speaking. There is indeed the sifting fairy grass in the Thousand Mound Forest, but as far as I know, with Brother Ning's current cultivation, you would not be able to get close to this place. This place was called the Altar of Forefathers Library, the most mysterious place in the Thousand Mound Forest. Even I dare not approach the surroundings of the Altar of Forefathers Library. In the jade strip map I gave you, there is the location of the Altar of Forefathers Library. If not necessary, I suggest that Brother Ning not go to the Altar of Forefathers Library for now. Altar of Forefathers Library? Ningqing had some doubts in his heart. He had purchased several jade strips in the Thousand Mound makeshift market, but none of them mentioned the Altar of Forefathers Library. In any case, many thanks Brother Bao. Ningqing once again thanked Baoxi, before he turned around and left. The Thousand Mound Forest jade strip given by Baoxi was many times more detailed than the map of the Thousand Mound Forest that Ningqing had purchased. In addition to the place that Baoxi circled on the jade strip, there was indeed an Altar of Forefathers Library. Although Ningqing's twin wings of the heavenly clouds had not yet evolved, in a place like the Thousand Mound Forest, as long as he had a specific direction, the speed of the twin wings of the heavenly clouds could not be intercepted by ordinary demonic beasts. In just an hour, Ningqing found the location that Baoxi had circled. It was a mess, but Ningqing did not see Tian Muwen or the blue-robed female cultivator. However, he knew that a battle must have taken place here. Moreover, it was the most terrifying fire-attributed battle. This place had been burned to nothingness by the flames, and even the ground had a huge pit. Ningqing walked into the place that had been burned by the flames and immediately noticed something different. There was a trace that extended away from the crater, and the line that left the crater was slightly less scorched. This kind of burning should have started only after someone had left. Ningqing followed this trace and quickly caught the aura of essence chi fluctuations. Someone had indeed escaped from this place. Just an hour later, Ningqing stopped again, and a huge celestial essence fluctuation once again passed through. Ningqing immediately sped up, and after half an incense stick worth of time, his spiritual consciousness could clearly see what was happening. A skeleton and a male cultivator were besieging a pale-faced demonic youth. Ningqing did not know the skeleton, but Ningqing was very familiar with the male cultivator. He was more than 2 feet tall and had blonde hair and a horse-like face. He was Shui Guangxi, an expert from the Shui clan who had recently advanced to the Eternal Realm. Not far from where the 3 people were fighting, a faint circle of light flickered. 2 female cultivators lay inside the circle of light, and Ningqing recognized them at a glance. They were Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator. The 2 of them should have changed their appearance, but the masks had long since disappeared. Moreover, both of them were unconscious. The celestial essence fluctuations from the fight between the 3 cultivators kept bombarding the faint circle of light. However, the circle of light seemed to be very tough and did not break. Ningqing instantly understood that the blue-robed female cultivator had arranged this circle of light. Most likely, these 3 people were fighting for the things on the blue-robed female cultivator's body. Although the blue-robed female cultivator arranged this defensive circle of light, it could only protect them for a while. Once the 3 of them fought, the circle of light would not be able to stop them. The fight between the 3 people was extremely fierce, and the demonic beasts in the surroundings had already fled in fear. As for the trees in the forest, they were completely destroyed. A huge ravine appeared between the 3 people, and powerful celestial essence explosions continued to erupt. One could imagine that if not for the faint circle of light protecting Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator, they would have already turned into slag under the shockwaves of this fight. Ningqing hid to the side and tried to converge his aura as much as possible. He couldn't beat any of these 3 people, and he did not have a better way to deal with them. If the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muwen did not have the protection of the circle of light, he could have secretly taken them away. But now, as soon as he came out and attacked the circle of light, he would immediately be discovered. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Just as Ningcheng was thinking about how to open the circle of light to save Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator, a few rays of celestial essence swept over the circle of light, and the circle of light cracked open without any warning. Ningcheng felt happy in his heart. These few rays of celestial essence came from the pale-faced demonic youth, and since they hit the circle of light, it could be considered as a mistake. Even after the circle of light exploded, the fight between the three people showed no signs of stopping. From this, Ningcheng understood that these three people did not care about the lives of the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muwen at all. What they wanted was the ring. However, Ningcheng found something wrong. The pale-faced cultivator seemed to have intentionally or unintentionally moved towards Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator. Ningcheng had already done this kind of thing many times, so he immediately understood what the pale-faced demonic youth was planning. The few rays of celestial essence that the demonic youth released just now definitely did not hit the circle of light by accident. Rather, it was intentional. Now that he wanted to snatch the ring, he knew that this situation was similar to what happened between him and Baoshi. Baoshi's cultivation was higher than his, but after he obtained the ring, Baoshi had to compromise with him. Otherwise, he would not get anything. Ningcheng originally planned to calculate the timing of the attack, but after seeing the figure of the pale-faced demonic youth, he no longer cared about anything else. He rushed out in a flash and grabbed Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator with each hand. He then immediately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and teleported away. Ningcheng had just grabbed Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator when the pale-faced cultivator arrived. Although he was only 2 breaths slower than Ningcheng, he still managed to grab nothing. As soon as the pale-faced demonic youth moved, the skeleton and Shui Guangxi understood his plan and immediately brought out their weapons to attack the pale-faced cultivator. While the pale-faced demonic youth resisted the attacks from the skeleton and Shui Guangxi, Ningcheng had already disappeared without a trace. After Shui Guangxi and the skeleton started fighting, they realized that the three of them had fallen into a trap. Not waiting for the pale-faced demonic youth to explain, the skeleton and Shui Guangxi immediately withdrew their attacks and chased after Ningcheng. The pale-faced demonic youth naturally did not have the mood to talk nonsense with Shui Guangxi and the skeleton, and also chased after Ningcheng. It wasn't that he didn't want to bring out the starry sky wheel, but at this moment, he had already detected the forbidden space array formation. Once the forbidden space array formation appeared, it meant that he was in the depths of the 1,000-mound forest. Besides, even if there was no forbidden space array formation, he could not bring out the starry sky wheel. The three powerful fellows behind him were like maggots on a tarsal bone, chasing after him. Most likely, he would not even have the chance to drive the starry sky wheel before they caught up to him. Fortunately, the forbidden space array formation helped Ningcheng. Since Ningcheng could not use the starry sky wheel, the three people behind him also could not use flight-type weapons. Although the twin wings of the heavenly clouds also felt suppressed, the twin wings of the heavenly clouds were different from ordinary flight-type weapons. Although Ningcheng could not use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to fly continuously, he could still use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to increase his speed. The three people chased after him while Ningcheng ran in front. In terms of cultivation, Ningcheng was slightly weaker than the three people, but since he was the one running away, he could choose the direction he wanted to go. With the help of the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, the distance between Ningcheng and the three people behind him slowly began to widen. As the distance continued to widen, Ningcheng did not dare to relax even for a moment. Once these three people caught up with him, he would have no chance to escape from the depths of the 1,000-mound forest, which was suppressed by the forbidden space array formation. The three people behind him felt as if they had eaten a weight, and were determined to catch up to Ningcheng. Ningcheng had been running for 5 or 6 days in the 1,000-mound forest, but these three people still did not give up. In the end, Ningcheng simply ignored the three people behind him and kept running. He did not believe that he could not get rid of these 3 dog skin plasters. Ningcheng did not know how long he had been running for, but when his spiritual consciousness felt suppressed, he finally stopped. As soon as he stopped, Ningcheng noticed that the 3 people behind him had already disappeared. He breathed a sigh of relief and looked around. In this place, his spiritual consciousness had been suppressed to less than 10 miles. But Ningqing did not worry about it. He had seen many places that suppress spiritual consciousness, so there was nothing to worry about. Chapter 693. There was not the slightest sound in the surroundings. It was dead silent. There were indeed many dangers in the thousand-mound forest, but no matter how many dangers there were, it shouldn't be a deathly stillness. Ningqing suddenly felt a bit scared in his heart. As he frowned, he felt that it was a bit outrageous. Even if his spiritual consciousness and cultivation were suppressed, he was still a starry sky cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. With his strength, it would not be difficult for him to destroy an ordinary planet. Why would he have such a feeling? Dong! A sound suddenly resounded in this deathly silent place. It was as if an iron awl had smashed into Ningqing's chest, causing Ningqing's heart to churn, as if he was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. Such a strange place. Ningqing finally understood why those 3 old fellows did not chase after them. It seems that those 3 fellows knew that this place was dangerous, and did not dare to continue to follow them. Ningqing grabbed Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator, and started to retreat. But then he found that he couldn't remember which direction he came from. Ningqing quickly took out the positional jade strip that Baoshi had given him, and found a few small characters around the location flashing on the jade strip. It was none other than the altar of Forefathers' library. The flickering represented his current location, which was around the altar of Forefathers' library, indicating that this was the altar of Forefathers' library. He originally planned to go to the altar of Forefathers' library, but he did not expect to come here by accident. Ningqing put away the jade strip. He wanted to withdraw from this place first. Even if he wanted to come here, he had to settle the 2 patients in his hands first. At this moment, the blue-robed female cultivator in his arms suddenly struggled. Awake? Ningqing was just about to speak, when another dong sound arrived. Ningqing once again suppressed the churning in his heart. However, the blue-robed female cultivator in his arms couldn't hold back her emotions. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood before fainting once again. So powerful, Ningqing no longer dared to stay, and quickly retreated. It was as if he had awakened a sleeping thing, as the thumping sound became more and more intense. Thump thump. Under this kind of terrifying thumping sound, Ningqing knew that he would not be able to retreat. It seemed that one could only enter and not leave. Even after wandering around for a long time, he was still in the vicinity of the altar of Forefathers' library. As long as he looked at the positional jade strip, he would know. Feeling that the blue-robed female cultivator showed signs of waking up, Ningqing quickly used his spiritual consciousness to search around. Even if his spiritual consciousness was severely suppressed, Ningqing still managed to find a canyon in a hurry. This canyon contained a deep black hole. Ningqing did not think about it, and directly rushed in. He feared that the blue-robed female cultivator would wake up again, and get hurt by the thumping sounds. As soon as he entered the canyon, Ningqing immediately threw out the array flags, while continuously arranging some isolation array formations. Thump! A sound once again arrived, but this sound was blocked by Ningqing's array formation. When it reached Ningqing's ears, it was no longer as shocking as before. The blue-robed female cultivator struggled a bit before speaking up in a weak voice. Ning Xiaoqing, please put me down. I'm called Ningqing now, wait a bit. Ningqing continued to run inside. A few minutes later, he stopped at a relatively wide place, and put down the blue-robed female cultivator. After raising his hand and throwing out a few array flags, he arranged a bright light array and a few defensive arrays, before Ningqing turned around. The blue-robed female cultivator looked at Ningqing in amazement, as if she had seen the most amazing thing in the world. Previously, Ningqing had been running away and did not care about it. But now that he saw the blue-robed female cultivator again, he suddenly felt embarrassed. The blue-robed female cultivator, like Tian Muwen, had clothes that did not cover her body at all, exposing her chest and waist. Your attainments in array formations are so high? The array formations you arranged in Shui clan. The blue-robed female cultivator did not continue. She knew that she did not need to continue. When Ningqing arranged the array formations in Shui clan, He definitely did not show his true level. She naturally knew about Ningcheng's age. He was around the same age as Tian Muwen. For a cultivator, this was a young age that couldn't be any younger. Such a young cultivator not only had a good cultivation, but his attainments in array formations had also reached such a high level. Was he a monster? She was not a rogue cultivator who did not understand anything. She knew that the Tao of array formations was similar to the Tao of alchemy and the Tao of artifacts. If one wanted to have some achievements, one would have to spend a lot of time studying them. Especially the Tao of array formations, one would have to spend a lot of time studying them. The lifespan of a cultivator was indeed much longer than that of an ordinary person. But even if a cultivator had a long lifespan, if they spent all their time studying these things, they would have less time for cultivation. Therefore, cultivators who achieved strong results in cultivation generally could not achieve high results in the Tao of array formations, or the Tao of alchemy and the Tao of artifacts, except for a few geniuses among geniuses. Was this Ningcheng one of those rare geniuses? If that was the case, then Muwen truly had a good eye. She subconsciously glanced at Tian Muwan. When she saw that Tian Muwan's clothes were not covering her body, even the red bean on her chest was exposed, she suddenly screamed, as she covered her chest with her hands. Ningcheng, you rogue, quickly turn your head. Ningcheng, who was about to speak, quickly turned his head. This blue-robed female cultivator's voice was comparable to the dong-dong sound. Wait. Do you have any clothes? Lend me too. When the blue-robed female cultivator spoke those words, her tone had already eased up. From this, she understood that Ningcheng could not be blamed for this matter. Not to mention looking at them, she had already been in Ningcheng's arms for a few days. Ningcheng threw a ring to the blue-robed female cultivator. There are some clothes inside, along with some medicinal pills. You can use them first. I'll arrange a few more array formations. An hour later, when Ningcheng came back in, the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muwen had already changed their clothes. Tian Muwen also woke up. When she saw Ningcheng come in, she immediately lowered her head. The blue-robed female cultivator took out a white key and handed it to Ningcheng. Thank you for saving us twice. I'll return this key to you. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and realized that this key was the white perpetual moontime key. He didn't hesitate to keep the key. After all, it belonged to him in the first place. Xiaocheng, thank you. Tian Muwen bit her lip. She didn't understand how Ningcheng saved them, but she understood that Ningcheng's strength and secrets were far stronger than she had imagined. You're welcome. It's just a small matter. Ningcheng smiled, looking as sunny as ever. Such familiar words, such a familiar smile. Tian Muwen looked at Ningcheng's vaguely familiar sunny smile, and her thoughts had already extended to a distant place. As the mudslide came crashing down, she hid behind a small tree in fright and completely lost her mind. It was that sunny boy who rushed over, picked her up and ran away. He carried her on his back and escaped, but the small tree she had hidden behind had already been submerged under the mudslide. If it weren't for him, then she would have been buried under the mudslide. He carefully put her down and pointed to a place not far away. Your companion is in front. Thank you, my name is Tian Muwen. My name is Ning Xiaocheng. Xiaocheng, thank you. You're welcome, it's just a small matter. Time passed quickly, and many years later, they still had this conversation. Even after many years, he was still the same person, and she was still the same person. However, there was always something missing in the middle. What was it that was missing? When was it missing? Did she put the pearl hair clip that Ningcheng gave her in the hands of another man, and that man threw it into the sewer? It's fine if you lost it, but when you have the time, you can buy me another one. Let's go. Tian Muwen's face turned even paler. Perhaps when she said those words to another man in front of Ningcheng, it was missing. No, it should be said that it was lost. If there was no Zheng Jiyun, would they still be like this? Tian Muwen shook her head. She knew that even if there was no Zheng Jiyun, she and he would still be like this. In her view, when she and Ningcheng were together, it seemed that she was taking care of Ningcheng's face. In fact, she still had a sense of superiority over Ningcheng in her heart. It was just that she was not aware of it. If not for this, Why would she take out a bank card and hand it to Ningcheng after Ningcheng disappeared? Why would she think that she and Ningcheng were not people from the same world? Why would she ask Ningcheng not to call her Muwen, but by her full name? Why would she care about Ningcheng being alive, but not come back to explain? In fact, did she even give Ningcheng a chance to explain? Did she not know about Ningcheng's pride? Did she not know about it? Ningcheng's first words to her were to ask Ruolin, what was wrong with it? If it really was love, then when she saw Ningcheng again, she would not care about such things, but be happy that Ningcheng was still alive. But she did not. She was just a true cultivator at the Qi Gathering 3rd level. Yet she thought that she and Ningcheng were not people from the same world. In fact, at that time, Ningcheng's cultivation was probably countless times higher than hers. She found the pearl hair clip that she had lost. Although it was still the original pearl hair clip, it was no longer the same white color as before. Muwen, are you okay? The blue-robed female cultivator, on seeing Tian Muwen staring at Ningcheng in a daze, shook Tian Muwen with some worry. Tian Muwen recovered and bit her lip again before speaking with a hoarse voice. Big sister, I'm fine. The blue-robed female cultivator nodded and did not continue to ask Tian Muwen. She almost knew about the matters between Tian Muwen and Ningcheng. As such, it was not appropriate to ask about it at this time. She turned her head and stared at Ningcheng before asking. Ningcheng, as far as I know, Earth and this place are not on the same plane. Not to mention you. Even I can't come to this place directly from Earth. So how did you get here? Ningcheng showed a faint smile. It's my own business, you don't have to worry about it. It's just like how you came here, I didn't ask you, did I? Although Ningcheng's words were not pleasant to listen to, they made sense. Asking about other people's privacy was not a polite thing to do. The blue-robed female cultivator giggled. Okay, then I won't pry into your privacy. Let me tell you, the laws here are not complete, and the same cultivation would be much weaker than other planes. If you help this big sister find the sifting fairy grass, then this big sister can take you out of here and go to a real immortal cultivation plane. Chapter 694. What is a complete set of rules? What is an immortal cultivation plane? Ningcheng looked at the blue-robed female cultivator and asked. Not to mention that the blue-robed female cultivator couldn't even protect herself right now. Even if she could take him away, he wouldn't leave. However, Ningcheng also knew that this blue-robed female cultivator had a much deeper understanding of cultivation compared to him. The blue-robed female cultivator's expression changed, and she put away her smile and said, as far as I know, it's very difficult to reach Tao confirming in this place. Cultivating to the eternal realm is already the limit. If he wanted to transcend eternity, he had to leave this place. I know that this place lacks thunder tribulations in the 3 realms of Celestial Scryer and Celestial River realms. This meant that the laws were incomplete. If the laws were complete, there wouldn't be a lack of lightning tribulations. What's more, I heard that this plane doesn't allow you to ascend. In the cultivation world, if you want to advance further, you have to find the heavenly path and leave the low-level plane. Ningcheng remained silent. The blue-robed female cultivator was right. From the graceful star mainland to the starry skies, he had experienced the heaven's way. However, unlike other cultivators, Ningcheng did not experience fewer thunder tribulations when he was in the Celestial River Realm's 3 realms. If I agree to go with you, how will you take me away? Ningcheng looked at this blue-robed female cultivator and felt that the ring in her hand should be of low quality. Even if this blue-robed female cultivator was equivalent to an eternal-level cultivator, he didn't believe that this blue-robed female cultivator could take him away, unless she also had an opening heaven talisman. The blue-robed female cultivator showed a proud smile. As long as my sea of consciousness is restored, I can take you to countless worlds. Of course, the premise is that you have to enter my world. Don't look at my ring. This ring of mine was forged on the spot. As for leaving this plane, I have my own way. You don't have to worry. Let's talk about leaving this place later. Wait for me here, I'll help you take a look. I'm not sure if I can find the sifting fairy grass. Ningcheng stood up. Although he wanted to find the sifting fairy grass to help the blue-robed female cultivator, It was not because he had a good impression of the blue-robed female cultivator, nor because he wanted to leave this place. Rather, it was because of Tian Muwen. Even if he and Tian Muwen were in the past, he could not ignore Tian Muwen falling in this place. If he didn't take action, then with Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator's current state, it would be impossible for them to find the sifting fairy grass. If they couldn't find the sifting fairy grass, then only death awaited them. Of course, he wanted the sifting fairy grass as well. The sifting fairy grass could repair damage to one's sea of consciousness. If one day something happened to his sea of consciousness, having the sifting fairy grass would make a difference. Xiaoqing. Seeing Ningcheng stand up, Tian Muwen also stood up in worry. Ningcheng was just about to speak, when another loud boom sound rang out. The several defensive arrays that he had arranged before, under this boom sound, directly shattered. Even if it was just the aftermath, it still sent Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator flying backwards, causing them to slam into the cave wall and spit out a mouthful of blood. What was that sound? Ning Cheng's complexion turned a bit ugly to look at. If he was alone, then under this kind of sound, he would have been able to barely block it. But now that the blue-robed female cultivator, who had almost completely lost her cultivation, and Tian Muwen, who had a low cultivation, decided to follow him, what should he do? Ningcheng looked at the blue-robed female cultivator. The blue-robed female cultivator used the stone wall to stand up and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She knew what Ningcheng meant and simply shook her head. I don't know what this sound is, but I know that this sound will definitely come again. Forget about the sifting fairy grass, just get out of here. If you can, take us out with you. If not, you can go out by yourself. Tian Muwen, you stay close to me and don't go more than 3 meters away from me. I'll carry senior apprentice Sister Yi on my back. Even if I wanted to get out of here, I wouldn't be able to find the way out. After Ningcheng finished, he directly brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort. You have a good weapon. Seeing the everlasting blue thunder fort, the blue-robed female cultivator's eyes flashed with surprise and spoke up in admiration. She still had a bit of her spiritual consciousness remaining, which allowed her to immediately sense the extraordinariness of the blue thunder fort. Unfortunately, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness was currently suppressed. Otherwise, with his current cultivation, his blue thunder fort would have been a lot clearer. Boom. Another dull sound emerged, but Ningcheng's everlasting blue thunder fort managed to block the sound, causing lightning to overflow in all directions. Ningcheng breathed in a sigh of relief. The everlasting blue thunder fort had managed to block the terrifying boom sound. Hurry up if you don't want to, just wait for me here. Ningcheng felt a little impatient. Staying in this cave made him feel a little uneasy. Tian Muwen, on seeing Ningcheng's urging, quickly helped the blue-robed female cultivator onto Ningcheng's back. The blue-robed female cultivator did not hesitate. Instead, she showed a smile and spoke, "Thank you, junior apprentice brother Ningcheng. By the way, why did you call little sister Muwen Tian? Isn't it better to call her Muwen?" A burst of softness and fragrance assaulted his senses, causing Ningcheng to take in a deep breath. He took out a true artifact rope and quickly secured the blue-robed female cultivator on his back. However, he did not answer the blue-robed female cultivator's question. Tian Muwen gave out a sigh and did not speak. Seeing Tian Muwen and Ningcheng not speaking, the blue-robed female cultivator also did not continue to ask. Ningcheng picked up Tian Muwen and was about to rush out. However, he had just rushed out a dozen meters when a roaring sound arrived. Although Tian Muwen's spiritual consciousness could not sweep out, Ningcheng could clearly see that the canyon had collapsed and was extending towards him. If it were an ordinary canyon, Ningcheng would have been able to blast it open with a single punch, even if it was under a mountain. However, Ningcheng knew that he could not blast open this place. Even his spiritual consciousness was bound within a certain range, let alone blasting open this collapsing canyon. When he first came in, this canyon was still in good condition. But now, not long after he came in, this canyon, which had existed for who knows how many years, began to collapse. If someone said that the canyon's collapse had nothing to do with him coming in, Ningcheng would never believe it. As the canyon in front of him started to collapse, Ningcheng had no choice but to stop. He was calculating whether he should continue to rush out of this collapsing area or retreat. If he retreated, he might not be able to retreat anymore. The blue-robed female cultivator's soft voice rang out in Ning Cheng's ears. Hurry up and retreat. You must not rush out. Why? Ning Cheng asked subconsciously. The blue-robed female cultivator took in a deep breath and spoke with a solemn voice. Do you think this is a simple canyon collapse? This collapse is a space-devouring event. If you dare to pass through this collapsing area, you will be swallowed up by space and disappear without a trace. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air and quickly retreated without hesitation. Even if there was no place to go, he would rather enter the mysterious yellow bead than get swallowed up by space. He did not doubt the blue-robed female cultivator's words. The reason why he could not see space devouring was because he had never seen it before. This place is very strange. This collapse only happened after we came in. There should be something controlling it. The blue-robed female cultivator spoke again. Ning Cheng did not answer and could only keep retreating. Tian Muwen didn't say a word. She just held Ning Cheng's waist tightly in his arms and seemed to be immersed in some kind of memory. Ning Cheng initially worried that they would reach the end of this cave soon, but this cave seemed like a bottomless pit. No matter how long Ning Cheng ran, there was still a path in front of him. We seem to have entered the thousand-mound forests underground. The blue-robed female cultivator spoke again. Ning Cheng also stopped. He also felt that something was wrong. If it was a cave before, then it couldn't even be called a cave now. The cave walls on both sides had disappeared at some point, replaced by a world with a fishy smell. The collapse behind them had also disappeared. Thump! Another sound emerged. This sound seemed to be louder and more threatening than the previous one. A crack appeared on Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. However, as long as the everlasting blue thunder fort did not break, it would automatically repair itself. The blue-robed female cultivator did not speak again. She felt that Ning Cheng had been running for a long time, and seemed to be getting closer and closer to the location of the thump-thump. 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 In the dark space, Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort rumbled under the thump-thump sound. Ning Cheng only hesitated for a moment before choosing a direction, and quickly rushing towards it. Although the blue-robed female cultivator had lost her cultivation, she still had some spiritual consciousness. She could feel that the direction Ning Cheng chose was the direction from which the thump-thump sound came from. She didn't say much. At this time, Ning Cheng was in charge. She couldn't let Ning Cheng hesitate. Ning Cheng moved quickly, and as the thump-thump sound grew more and more dull, the pressure on Ning Cheng also increased. The cracks on the everlasting blue thunder fort also increased, while the speed at which it healed also slowed down. Ning Cheng felt extremely anxious. Once his everlasting blue thunder fort shadow cracked completely, even if he brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort again, he wouldn't be able to protect the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muwen. A dark red light suddenly appeared in front of Ning Cheng, causing Ning Cheng to pause for a moment, before he sped up and rushed towards the location of this dark red light. As Ning Cheng got closer and closer to the dark red light, he finally got a clear look at it. It was a blood lake, and in the middle of the blood lake was a huge heart with dense meridians covering it. Thump. Another dull thump erupted, and Ning Cheng felt a burst of turbulence. He quickly pushed his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness to stabilize the everlasting blue thunder fort, which was about to crack open. This time, he could clearly see that the thump came from the huge heart beating in the middle of the lake. The Ning Cheng trio looked at each other in dismay. They had never seen such a strange thing before. Such a huge heart existed between heaven and earth. Just a single beat contained such power. Just whose heart did it belong to? That's the sifting fairy grass. The blue-robed female cultivator looked across the lake and spoke with a slightly excited tone. At the same time that the blue-robed female cultivator saw the sifting fairy grass, Ning Cheng also saw the sifting fairy grass on the opposite side. Thump! The huge heart beat again, and this time, Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort completely cracked open. Ning Cheng opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. A powerful pressure came over, making him unable to bring out the blue thunder fort for a while. The blue-robed female cultivator immediately took out a talisman and threw it out. The next moment, a faint light shield covered the three of them. The blue-robed female cultivator showed a weak smile towards Ningcheng. This is the last defensive talisman. Unfortunately, when my true spirit world shattered, I couldn't bring out enough things. Chapter 695. This defensive light cover should last for a while. Senior apprentice Sister Yi, you and Muwen wait for me here. I'll go alone. After Ningcheng finished, he took out an array disc and threw it on the ground before quickly rushing out. Tian Muwen stared at Ningcheng's voice with only a single voice in her heart. He called me Muwen again. When did such a small form of address make her so excited? The blue-robed female cultivator glanced at the array disc Ningcheng threw on the ground and smiled. It turned out to be a transfer array disc. No wonder he could achieve what he has today. He really thought things through. Tian Muwen seemed to be answering the blue-robed female cultivator's words and muttered. He must have suffered a lot to reach where he is today. The blue-robed female cultivator sighed. Muwen, although his cultivation is a bit low, he really is a good person. Unfortunately, you missed him. Tian Muwen looked at the blue-robed female cultivator in a daze. The blue-robed female cultivator looked at Ningcheng's back, and suddenly felt a little lonely. Big sister. Tian Muwen felt a little uncomfortable in her heart, and spoke with a hint of sadness. Muwen, when he carried me on his back, he took out a true artifact belt. That belt has no other use except for carrying people on his back. He should have refined it himself. Why do you think he kept such a true artifact belt on him? Tian Muwen turned silent. She understood. The blue-robed female cultivator also turned silent. This was the first time she felt a male cultivator's kindness. Ningcheng felt a lot more relaxed by himself, but as soon as he reached the edge of the Blood Lake, the Blue Thunder City's shadow once again exploded with a thump. Once again bringing out the everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow, Ningcheng did not hesitate, and stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to rush over. But just as he reached the center of the lake, another thump came over. The huge pressure caused Ningcheng's figure to stop, and he immediately fell down. The two women, who were nervously staring at Ningcheng in the distance, screamed out in shock. They did not know what was under the Blood Lake, but with that huge heart, it definitely was not a good place. No one could say for sure what would happen if they fell down. Ningcheng naturally did not want to fall into this Blood Lake. Regardless of what would happen if he fell, he did not want to fall into this Blood Lake. Ningcheng had also seen a blood lake or a blood river when he was in the true cultivation world. Songwei had used his own essence blood to transform into a blood river to absorb the spiritual qi. In the end, he even used the blood essence from the blood river to reconstruct his body. Although Ningcheng was not used to looking at the blood river, but it was not that uncomfortable. Just looking at the lake of blood made him feel uncomfortable. This feeling made him even more unwilling to touch it. Just as he was about to fall into the blood lake, Ningcheng raised his hand and threw out an airship Dao artifact. He didn't have many other things, but he had a lot of Dao artifacts and magic treasures. The airship Dao artifact finally landed on the surface of the blood lake. A sound rang out, causing countless blood flowers to splatter out. Ningcheng's feet touched the surface of the airship Dao artifact, and once again stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. This time, Ningcheng landed on the opposite side of the lake. Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator, on seeing Ningcheng land safely on the other side of the lake, felt relieved. Ningcheng also breathed in a sigh of relief. He did not look back, but instead sped up his pace and arrived next to the few strains of sifting fairy grass. What's going on? Tian Muwen pointed to the blood lake and called out in surprise. In fact, there was no need for Tian Muwen to scream. The blue-robed female cultivator had also seen it. The previously calm blood lake, because of Ningcheng dropping a flight-type Dao artifact, caused the entire blood lake to bubble. Gulyalu. The blood bubbles grew bigger and bigger as time passed. It was like a pot of boiling water, tumbling about incessantly. Ningcheng also felt alarmed by this gurgling sound. Looking at the blood lake full of blood bubbles, he felt a bad feeling in his heart. He quickly grabbed a strain of sifting fairy grass and threw it into the transfer array disc. When the sifting fairy grass was transferred away, Ningcheng immediately began to collect the rest of the sifting fairy grass. He felt that the sooner he left this place, the better it would be. The blue-robed female cultivator, on seeing the sifting fairy grass that Ningcheng had transferred out, excitedly grabbed it. In just a short time, the sifting fairy grass in her hand had already withered. The blue-robed female cultivator closed her eyes, and her face turned from pale to rosy, while her imposing aura slowly rose. After Ningcheng collected 3 strains of sifting fairy grass, he did not want to continue collecting them. He was just about to bring out the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and fly across the blood lake, when a huge pressure descended on him. Under this horrifying pressure, he could not move at all. Although he could still exert his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness, he could not break free from this horrifying pressure. Thump! The huge heart beat again, and the shadow of Ningcheng's everlasting Blue Thunder City turned into nothingness. Golyulu! The blood bubbles in the blood lake finally began to burst, and an endless swarm of dark red insects emerged from the blood lake. As soon as these insects came out, they scrambled to the edge of the blood lake. Moreover, their speed was extremely fast. Ah! Tian Muan screamed. These insects were just too disgusting. It was not that she had never seen disgusting insects before. She had even seen an insect tide. However, the largest of these insects was only the size of a broad bean. Covered in a dark red mucus, they crawled over one after another. There were so many of them that they seemed endless. The swarm of insects made cha-cha sounds and approached like demons. Ningcheng also felt his scalp tingling. He was completely suppressed and could not even struggle for a while. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, these insects would crawl to his side. At that time, he could already imagine his fate. Xiaoqing, you have to leave. Tian Muan screamed. Ningcheng did not have the protection of the Blue Thunder City's shadow. If he stood there and did not leave, wouldn't it be equivalent to courting death? Thump! The huge heart, at this time, was already covered with the dark red mucus insects. But even so, the heart continued to beat. Poof! This time, Ningcheng did not have any defenses and directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Big sister! Tian Muan called out anxiously. She wanted to help Ningcheng, but she could not do anything. Even the edges of their shields were crawling with insects at this time. The insects were about to cover the entire shield, and if they continued, the shield would definitely be bitten open. The blue-robed female cultivator suddenly stood up. Although her cultivation had not fully recovered, she could activate the heaven-opening talisman's child talisman without any problems. She took out a talisman and called out to Ningcheng. Junior apprentice brother Ningcheng, what's the matter with you? I'm being suppressed. I can't break free yet. You should hurry up and leave. Ningcheng recognized the heaven-opening talisman's child talisman in the blue-robed female cultivator's hand. He felt surprised that the blue-robed female cultivator would have such a talisman. His child talisman could only be used once. Since the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan came from Earth, they should have already used it once. So how could they still have it? Did she have more than one? If you want to leave, let's leave together. The blue-robed female cultivator finished speaking and directly brought out a sword light. It should be this heart's doing, suppressing you. I'll attack this heart. Once the suppression loosens, you can immediately come over. In this place, the blue-robed female cultivator's spiritual consciousness was also suppressed. Moreover, her cultivation had not fully recovered. Ningcheng did not have time to speak when the blue-robed female cultivator's sword light struck the huge heart. Bang! Like a balloon that had been filled with air. The huge heart suddenly burst open, and countless slimy worms rushed out, letting out terrifying screeches that could pierce one's soul. It's over. Ningcheng screamed in his heart. This heart could not be attacked. It's over. The blue-robed female cultivator also cried out in regret. If she knew that this heart could not be attacked, she would never have done such a thing. Boom boom. Another burst of roaring sounds emerged. Ningcheng had just escaped from the cave, so he naturally knew what this sound was. The blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muan also knew what this sound was, causing their expressions to turn ugly to look at. It's the sound of that space-devouring thing. Hurry up and leave, I have a way. Ningqing called out anxiously. Catcha. The defensive array around Tian Muwen and the blue-robed female cultivator's position was bitten open by the dark red insects. A fishy smell rushed in, causing Tian Muwen to almost faint. Seeing that the insects were about to drown the two of them, the blue-robed female cultivator gave out a sigh. She grabbed Tian Muwen and brought out the child talisman in her hand. It wasn't that she didn't want to help Ningqing, but she really couldn't do anything about it. Ningqing, I owe you. The blue-robed female cultivator struggled to speak. Xiaoqing. Tian Muwen screamed out. She only managed to call out 2 words before the blue-robed female cultivator disappeared without a trace. The two of them had just disappeared when endless insects swept through the place where they stood. When the endless insects saw the blue-robed female cultivator and Tian Muwen disappear, almost all of them turned around and rushed towards Ningqing's side. Ningqing initially wanted to wait for the devouring space to come here before letting the space devour them. As long as he entered the mysterious yellow bead, even if the devouring space devoured him, he could still keep his life. However, this endless swarm of insects had already arrived in front of him. At this time, Ningqing couldn't care about the aftereffects and crazily slashed out with his spiritual consciousness blades, one slash after another. The more spiritual consciousness blades he slashed out, the more chaotic his sea of consciousness became. Fortunately, his efforts finally paid off, and he felt the pressure around him loosen a little. Ningqing didn't even think about it, and desperately stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape from his original position. Rumble, rumble. A loud rumbling sound finally arrived. Ningqing's spiritual sense had already reached out to the mysterious yellow bead. As long as the devouring spatial force arrived in front of him, he would immediately enter the mysterious yellow bead. Ningqing quickly felt that something was wrong. After Ningqing regained his freedom, the rumbling sound came to an abrupt end. At the same time, Ningqing's surroundings completely opened up, and the light also became a lot brighter. The oppressive darkness around him seemed to have been completely swallowed up at this moment. Perhaps because of the sudden appearance of light, the insects chasing after Ningqing also retreated and gathered around the cracked heart. In the direction of the light, a huge black altar suddenly appeared, with 2 words suspended above the altar: Forefathers' Library. This altar and the heart of the blood lake faced each other, causing Ningqing, who stood in the middle, to feel uncomfortable. Chapter 696. Ta-ta. Hua-hua. The sound of heavy footsteps came from behind the altar. Ningqing forcibly stabilized his mind and looked over with rapt attention. A giant with a height of more than 10 feet was walking over step by step. Every step he took on the ground would cause the surroundings to tremble. What shocked Ningqing even more was the miserable state of this giant. This giant had a huge bloody hole in his chest, without a heart. His heart seemed to have been forcibly dug out, and blood still flowed down his chest. Moreover, he only had 1 arm, and his only arm and 2 feet were also locked by huge chains. Every step he took, the chains would make a hua-hua sound. Even his eye only had 1 eye left, and it was an empty hole, while the other eye was also blind. The remaining empty eye also had black blood dripping down. The whole person could only be described as miserable. I sacrifice my blood. Give me back my heart. I sacrifice my blood. Give me back my eyes. The giant walked towards the altar, while his mouth kept repeating these 2 sentences. Ningqing subconsciously looked at the blood lake opposite the altar. He suddenly thought of the beating heart in the blood lake. Did it belong to the giant? The giant had already walked to the side of the altar, but he did not care about the altar, and just reached out to grab the heart in the lake. His mouth was still constantly calling out. I sacrifice my blood. Give me back my heart. I sacrifice my blood. Give me back my eyes. However, the 3 chains seemed to have calculated the distance, locking the giant in place. The giant's remaining hand could only reach the blood lake, and could no longer move forward even half a step. Looking at the giant bending over, wanting to grab the heart in the blood lake, Ningqing felt a kind of sadness in his heart. He suddenly had an idea in his heart, to help the giant take out the heart. Or rather, he wanted to help the giant cut off the 3 chains, and let go of the giant. However, Ningqing did not lose his mind, he could not even protect himself now. Because he had no way out, he could only temporarily survive in the middle of the altar and the blood lake, not to mention cutting off the 3 chains. These 3 chains, even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to cut them off. At this moment, the altar suddenly let out a whining sound, just like the horn of a bull on the battlefield. This kind of whining sound made Ningqing very uncomfortable, but he had no way to stop it. As the whimpering sound rang out, the giant's attempt to grab the heart became even more restless. He kept trying to rush forward, but every time he did, he would be locked down by the iron chain. Perhaps it was because the giant was struggling too hard, but Ningqing unexpectedly felt a familiar aura coming from the giant, as if he had seen this kind of aura before. Not waiting for Ningqing to think about it carefully, the dark red insects in the blood lake were affected by the woo-woo sound of the altar, and once again swarmed towards it. However, these insects seemed to have some sort of pattern to them, and did not rush towards Ningqing. However, Ningqing's complexion quickly changed. He was an array formation master. As such, he was proficient in array formations. As such, he naturally understood what these insects were doing. These insects had actually arranged a peerless blood-sucking formation. Once this formation was completed, all the blood in the surroundings would be sucked into the blood lake. In other words, the blood in his body could not avoid this misfortune either. What a vicious bastard. He actually used the sound of the altar to control these insects to set up a blood-sucking formation. Although Ningqing was angry in his heart, there was nothing he could do. Kaka. As the insects continued to gather, the array formation finally took shape. Sensing the terrifying suction force, Ningqing quickly brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City. His everlasting Blue Thunder City only took a moment before it was sucked away. The essence blood in his body at this moment seemed to have gone out of control, wanting to break through his skin and bones, before being sucked into the blood lake. Buzz. While Ningqing was still resisting, the blood in the giant's body had already formed a blood bridge, which crashed into the blood lake. Ningqing felt incomparably distressed as he looked at this scene. Although the giant was being tortured in such a manner, the person who had locked him up still did not let it go, and was still constantly sucking the blood from his body. At this time, Ningqing finally understood where the blood in the blood lake came from. It turned out that it was all sucked out from the giant's body. The giant's roar turned even more mournful and rapid. I offer my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my heart. I offer my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my eyes. Catcha. An explosive sound emerged and Ningqing's everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow once again exploded due to the suction force. The exhausted Ningqing once again brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City's shadow, and suddenly shouted at the giant. You don't have to snatch your heart. You can't snatch it now. It's just letting the blood lake suck away your blood in vain. You should quickly go back. But before you go back, I would like to ask you to do me a favor. Tear open the space in this place and let me go. As long as I, Ningqing, do not die, one day I will come back here to help you take back your heart. The giant suddenly stopped rushing towards the blood lake, and looked at Ningqing with empty eyes. Ningqing, on seeing the giant's reaction, spoke out even louder. Believe me, as long as I am alive, I will definitely come back to help you. Many years ago, I also helped a person in the same way, but he never came back to help me. The giant's voice was hoarse and emotionless. Ningqing felt surprised for a moment. He did not think that someone would deceive this giant in front of him. This made him angry in his heart. That son of a bitch who deceived the giant would definitely cause him to fall here today. Ningqing was just about to explain a few words when the giant suddenly spoke up. I'll help you. After saying this, the giant raised his hand and grabbed the void. A tear in the space appeared in front of Ningqing, and a spatial wind edge emerged from the tear. After the giant grabbed the tear in the space, it no longer paid any attention to Ningqing, and still rushed towards the blood lake to grab the heart. I will use my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my heart. I will use my blood as a sacrifice, give me back my eyes. Ningqing's heart warmed up, and he shouted at the giant. I'm leaving, don't try to snatch the heart again, listen to me, hurry back. One day, I will come back to help you. I, Ningqing, never break my promise. Catcha. The everlasting blue Thunder City's shadow shattered again, and the tear in the space created by the giant slowly shrank. Ningqing did not dare to delay for even a moment. After saying this sentence, he directly rushed into the tear in the space created by the giant. Boom! Ningqing had just disappeared when the tear in the space created by the giant completely closed. The blood lake, the altar, and the giant all disappeared. Ningqing stood in this space, letting the spatial wind edge hit him for a full incense stick worth of time. Only then did Ningqing murmur, "As long as I, Ningqing, don't die one day, I will come back here, destroy those disgusting insects, destroy the altar of Forefathers' library, and cut off those 3 chains." After saying this, Ningqing silently looked back. At this moment he felt incomparably small. Even if he cultivated to the middle level of heaven-seated realm, he was still a tiny ant in the vast universe. There were countless existences stronger than him. The moment Ningqing brought out the starry sky wheel and prepared to leave, he suddenly paused. At this moment, he remembered the familiar aura coming from the giant. It was an eye nailed to the bottom of a lake. That lake was called the White-Robed Ghost Lake, and that place was called the Forsaken Land. At the bottom of the White-Robed Ghost Lake in the endless desert of the Forsaken Land, a cyan-colored eye was nailed to the bottom by a strange dagger and could not move at all. At this moment, when he linked it to the aura coming from the giant, he finally understood that the cyan-colored eye also belonged to the giant. Ningqing shuddered and immediately thought of Princess Man from Yaluan City. Princess Man had a crystal dot on her forehead, and the aura coming from that crystal dot was the same as the eye at the bottom of the lake. Ningqing had once thought that Princess Man was the one who wanted to possess the eye, but now he finally understood that Princess Man had already been possessed by someone else. However, the person who wanted to possess her was not the eye at the bottom of the lake. Instead, she wanted to refine the eye at the bottom of the lake into her third eye. This fellow who possessed Princess Man truly had great ambitions. He even wanted to refine the eye of the giant as his third eye. Ningqing suddenly felt a little regret in his heart. He should have killed Princess Man at all costs. Although he was sure that Princess Man could not refine the third eye so quickly, he still owed the giant a favor. Since he wanted to help the giant, he should help it to the end. As for that eye, he must bring it back to the giant. Chapter 697. After flying for an hour with the starry sky wheel, Ningqing determined that he wasn't in the void crevice between interfaces. He should be somewhere between the starry skies, but Ningqing wasn't sure if he was still in the original interface. However, Ningqing didn't continue flying and stopped the starry sky wheel. After experiencing these things, he became even more aware of his shortcomings. He had to improve his cultivation. Although he had some cultivation resources on him, he couldn't arrange a time grand array like what Songwei had mentioned. Otherwise, if he arranged a time grand array, cultivating for 10 years inside the time grand array would only be equivalent to 1 year outside. Even if he was a grade 7 array emperor, he was still far from being able to arrange a time grand array. Fortunately, he still had the mysterious yellow bead. Cultivating inside the mysterious yellow bead would be much faster than cultivating outside. Half a month later, Ningqing arranged several shielding array formations in the depths of a broken star in the void before entering the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate. Ningqing knew that even if he arranged many shielding array formations, if a powerhouse came within a certain distance of him, he would still be discovered. He felt helpless. Who made his mysterious yellow bead lack the wood origin bead? However, he couldn't care less about it now. Time was too important for him. Moreover, with his current cultivation, even if he was discovered by an eternal cultivator, he could easily escape. As a middle-stage heaven-seated cultivator, he wasn't even worth mentioning in front of some powerhouses. However, Ningqing was no longer an ant who hadn't even reached the heaven-seated realm. Even if an eternal starry sky emperor wanted something from him, they would have to exchange their lives for it. After arranging the array formations, Ningqing didn't immediately start cultivating. Instead, he began to sort out the things in his hands. He had 2 rings of eternal starry sky emperors. One was picked up from the Shui clan, and the other belonged to Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Zhu Zhengfeng. The eternal cultivator's ring that Shui clan picked up contained a lot of things. In addition to a bunch of good artifact crafting materials and spirit grasses for alchemy, it also contained 2 top-quality Starry Sky battleships. Cultivators of this level didn't have many purple coins. At most, they had a bunch of perpetual moon pills and permanent essence pills. In this ring, Ningqing obtained millions of perpetual moon pills, and more than 1,000,000 permanent essence pills. This level of wealth was only average for an eternal cultivator. But for Ningqing, it was a huge harvest. However, these things were nothing compared to Interdependence Chamber of Commerce's Zhu Jingfeng's ring. The crafting materials in Zhu Jingfeng's ring were not only 10 times more, but their grades were also much higher. However, these were not what Ningqing valued the most. What Ningqing valued the most was the nearly 10 million permanent essence pills in Zhu Jingfeng's ring, and 100 million perpetual moon pills. Although Ningqing had given 2 pots of none to depend on wine to Bao Shi, there were still more than 10 pots of none to depend on wine inside. Whether the mutual dependence wine in Zhu Jingfeng's ring was real or fake, Ningqing did not know, nor did he care about it. Even if the mutual dependence wine in Zhu Jingfeng's ring was fake, he still had a barrel of it. What surprised Ningqing even more was that he found a fist-sized polar star nucleus. The polar star core was also known as the star core flame. It was the core of a fire-type planet. Not every fire-attributed planet had a polar star nucleus. However, to obtain a polar star nucleus, one would have to destroy and refine a fire-attributed planet. This was a good thing that could help a Nirvana Grade 3 flame evolve to a Starry Sky Grade 4 flame. Unfortunately, his Celestial River flame had not undergone Nirvana yet, and its grade was still too low. Therefore, he could not use it for now. Putting away the polar star nucleus, Ningqing no longer had any scruples, and entered the mysterious yellow bead to enter secluded cultivation. Covered Snow City. This was a city on named Descendant Celestial River's second revenant star. Second revenant star was the main star of named Descendant Celestial River. Ningqing had come to second revenant star to look for his sister Ruolin. However, Ningqing chose to go to second revenant star's premier city, named Descendant City. He had stayed in named Descendant City for a few months. Compared to named Descendant City, Covered Snow City wasn't a big city on second revenant star. In fact, it was just a small and remote city. Moreover, it was located on the edge of second revenant star. This city was covered in snow all year round, which gave it the name Covered Snow City. In the eastern part of Covered Snow City, there was a famous bridge called the East Gate Bridge. The East Gate Bridge spanned a river that ran through the entire Covered Snow City, dividing Covered Snow City into east and west halves. The eastern side lacked Starry Sky Essence Chi, and was home to ordinary cultivators and rogue cultivators. The western side had rich Starry Sky Essence Chi, and was home to some of Covered Snow City's sex or wealthy cultivators. Although the eastern side lacked Starry Sky Essence Chi, every inch of land in Covered Snow City was still worth its weight in gold. In the eastern part of the city, a few thousand meters away from the bridgehead of the East Gate Bridge, there was a relatively small restaurant called Chung Ruolin Restaurant. Although Chung Ruolin Restaurant was a restaurant, it only had 3 people. The restaurant's owner, Helian Mingzhi, his granddaughter Helian Dai, and a helper Ning Ruolin. Although Chung Ruolin Restaurant was small, many rogue cultivators were willing to come here to drink. It was mainly because the wine in this restaurant was cheap and of good quality. One could buy a pot of good wine with 100 blue coins. Apparently, Ningqing's sister, Ning Ruolin, came up with the name of this restaurant. Ning Ruolin also came up with this name because she feared that Ningqing would find this place. According to her original idea, she wanted to go to Descendant City to buy a shop. Unfortunately, the property prices in Descendant City were too high, and she couldn't afford it. Later, she wanted to buy a shop in a city near Descendant City, but she couldn't afford the price. In the end, she could only come to Covered Snow City. Fortunately, although Covered Snow City was remote, it was still on second revenant star. Ning Ruolin didn't come to Descendant City alone. Rui Baishan Luozian, Ke Hongshui, Taishu Pingho, Meng Jingxiu, Xian Saixue and the others also came with her. Ning Ruolin insisted on staying in second revenant star to wait for her brother Ningqing. She firmly believed that her brother would find second revenant star. In the beginning, everyone was willing to wait with Ning Ruolin. But later, Rui Baishan disappeared, and the rest of them also felt that there was no future in staying here. When Ning Ruolin arrived at Covered Snow City, everyone started to separate and go their separate ways. Ning Ruolin stayed alone in Covered Snow City. Later, she met Helian Dai and followed Helian Dai to her family's small restaurant. Because Ning Ruolin was good at running a business, she quickly doubled the profits of the restaurant and won the trust of Helian Dai and her grandfather, Helian Mingzhi. Finally, Ning Ruolin named this nameless restaurant Chung Ruolin Restaurant, mainly targeting rogue cultivators who weren't rich. But today, the Chung Ruolin Restaurant, which usually opened on time every day, was tightly closed. Inside the restaurant, a man with a sickly face had a sad look on his face. These people are too shameless. Our restaurant has been here for more than 100 years. Now that a mystic realm has appeared on the east side of Covered Snow City, all kinds of people come here. We don't want to move. Let's see what they can do to our Chung Ruolin restaurant. A green-robed woman sitting on the right spoke with anger. The sickly man knew that his granddaughter spoke out of anger. He sighed, looked at the yellow-robed woman on the left, and asked, "Ruolin, what do you think?" The beautiful woman on the left was Ning Ruolin, who Ning Chung had brought to Graceful Star Mainland. She had stayed in Covered Snow City for many years, waiting for her big brother to find her. She also knew that with her current celestial novice cultivation, it would be impossible to find her big brother Ning Chung in the vast universe. This place wasn't Earth, but the endless starry sky universe. Ning Ruolin hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Grandpa Helian, junior apprentice Sister Dai, we have to leave. If we stay here, I'm afraid that the three of us won't even know how we died." The sickly man nodded and said to the green-robed female cultivator, "Little Dai, Ruolin is right. We have to leave. You and Ruolin both have celestial novice cultivation, and I'm only a celestial gatherer cultivator. Moreover, I'm still injured. Any celestial gatherer cultivator could easily eat us up, let alone people from G clan. If we stay here, not only would we not be able to keep our restaurant, but our lives would also be in danger." But. Helian Dai said a few buts in succession. Although she felt unwilling, she couldn't find the words to refute it. She knew that elder sister Ruolin and her grandpa were right. They had to leave. Ning Ruolin understood Helian Dai's unwillingness and sighed. The ancient Shadow Temple's mystic realm suddenly appeared not far from Covered Snow City. I guess a lot of people would come here. At that time, the territory outside Covered Snow City would become even more precious. Let's give up the restaurant now and occupy a piece of land outside Covered Snow City. That way, we can still do business in the future. Helian Mingzhi nodded. Let's do as Ruolin said. When the ancient Shadow Temple appears, it would definitely attract a lot of cultivators to Covered Snow City. Maybe our business would even improve. Although the three of them knew that it was just self-comfort, they had to do it. Instead of waiting for others to take away Chung Ruolin's restaurant, it was better to give it up as soon as possible. Boom. Helian Mingzhi's words had just ended when the restaurant's doors burst open. A red-robed woman stood at the entrance, followed by three male cultivators. The scarlet-robed woman's gaze swept over Ning Ruolin and the other two before she spoke up in an ice-cold tone. "I brought the message yesterday, yet you still haven't left. Do you want me to personally ask you to leave, or are you deaf?" Seeing Helian Dai suddenly stand up, Ning Ruolin quickly spoke up. "Senior apprentice sister, please calm down. We were planning to move away. We just wanted to discuss where to go." She knew that Helian Dai couldn't speak. If Helian Dai angered the people in front of her, none of them would survive today. She had a clear understanding of the power of the people in front of her. "Get lost." The red-robed woman didn't give Ning Ruolin a chance to explain and slapped her. Ning Ruolin only had a celestial novice cultivation, while this red-robed female cultivator was a full-circle celestial gatherer cultivator. How could she avoid it? The red-robed female cultivator slapped Ning Ruolin directly against the wall of the restaurant, shattering several jars of wine on the wall and spilling over the floor. Seeing Ning Ruolin stand up in anger, Helian Mingzhi quickly stood in front of Ning Ruolin and blocked Ning Ruolin's path. At the same time he called out, "Little Dai, hurry up and help elder sister Ruolin. We're leaving now." Helian Dai knew that staying here would only lead to death. Therefore, without waiting for Helian Mingzhi to finish his words, she rushed up and helped Ning Ruolin up. Following Helian Mingzhi, the three hurriedly left through the side door. They didn't even take anything from the restaurant. Chapter 698. When the three came out from the back of the restaurant, Helian Dai looked at the mess around her with a stunned expression. After a long time she spoke up with fear. "Grandpa, big sister Ruolin, aren't we lucky?" Ning Ruolin and Helian Mingzhi also felt shocked by the scene in front of them. Helian Dai was right, they were lucky. The East Gate Bridge originally had a variety of shops and rest stops. But now these shops had all turned into ruins, with more than a dozen corpses scattered around. They all knew these corpses. They belonged to the shop owners who used to live not far from them. But now these shop owners had all turned into corpses. Ning Ruolin remained silent. This was a world of the strong, where the strong preyed on the weak. At this moment, the law of the jungle was exposed. Originally, the East Gate Bridge had formed a balance of power. Although there were some occasional fights, it would not affect the overall situation. But once more powerful forces poured in, this balance of power would immediately break. Maybe after a while a new balance of power would form, but it would have nothing to do with them. "Let's go." Helian Mingzhi sighed and said. The three of them didn't say anything. Covered Snow City was a real starry sky city of second revenant star, and it also had certain rules and restrictions. Who else would dare to break these rules and openly occupy this place and kill other cultivators, besides Ji Clan? Because of the direct scouring of the mysterious yellow origin aura and the other origin auras, Ning Cheng's cultivation shot up like a rocket. The celestial essence aura and the origin aura formed from the two spiritual veins and countless permanent essence pills directly wrapped around Ning Cheng, making it impossible to see his figure. Moreover, the mysterious yellow formless inside the mysterious yellow bead became even more powerful. Ning Cheng immersed himself in this crazy cultivation rise, and didn't even know how long he had been cultivating. Right now, he only had a vague feeling that he was about to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm. The life and death realm was the second realm of the destiny's three realms. Only cultivators who understood life and death and broke through yin and yang could touch the life and death realm. For ordinary starry sky cultivators, if they wanted to advance to the life and death realm, they had to rely on life and death concept pills. This kind of pill allowed cultivators to feel the samsara between life and death, giving birth to the two worlds of yin and yang, the two heavens of joy and sorrow. Therefore, cultivators who could refine life and death concept pills had to be pill emperors above the life and death realm. Ning Cheng did not have such a pill, but in the depths of his heart, a feeling arose. As long as he continued to comprehend and cultivate, he would definitely advance to the life and death realm. At this time, Ning Cheng was completely immersed in the desire of the life and death realm, and was completely immersed in the realm of crazy cultivation that he could not extricate himself from. If it was before, if someone could come to this place, he would definitely be vigilant. But now, even if someone took away the mysterious yellow bead, he was afraid that he would not be able to wake up. He had fallen into a kind of obsession. If not for the mysterious yellow origin aura, then perhaps he would have already turned into a devil. At this moment, he was already standing in front of a towering tower, whose top could not be seen. This tower was somewhat familiar to him. Soon he recalled that this pagoda was similar to the Starry Sky Pagoda on the Culmination Public Square. However, the Starry Sky Pagoda on the Culmination Public Square only had 49 levels, while this pagoda seemed to have more than 49 levels. Deep in his heart there was a calling. As long as he passed this tower, he would be able to break through the sky realm and directly see the life and death realm. As the mysterious yellow aura washed over him, Ning Cheng's consciousness suddenly sobered up a bit. He immediately stopped his footsteps towards the tower. Wasn't he cultivating in seclusion? Why did he come here? Was this an illusion? No, this was not an illusion. Ning Cheng quickly put aside the idea of an illusion. The pagoda in front of him was very clear, and his will to advance to the life and death realm was also very firm. Ning Cheng did not hesitate and stepped into the pagoda. A pale golden staircase appeared in front of Ning Cheng, and Ning Cheng had just stepped onto the staircase when a powerful distorting pressure descended. Sure enough, this was not an illusion. Ning Cheng felt even more sure. If it were an illusion, he would not have felt such a clear distorting pressure. Ning Cheng stimulated his celestial essence and released his celestial river domain as he walked up step by step. He kept reminding himself that he was advancing to the life and death realm and must not be impatient. 1 floor, 2 floors, 10 floors, 15 floors. The higher Ning Cheng went, the greater the pressure. However, Ning Cheng felt more and more delighted. With every floor he climbed, his spirit technique seemed to have solidified a bit more. The 27th floor, the 28th floor, the 36th floor, the 37th floor. At this moment, Ning Cheng once again forgot that he had come to this pagoda to pursue the life and death realm. He also forgot that as long as he crossed this pagoda, he could advance to the life and death realm. At this moment, he only knew that he had to keep climbing up the floors of the pagoda, constantly gaining insights, allowing his spirit technique to grow stronger and stronger. At the same time, in the Grand Culmination Starry Skies Culmination Public Square, a cultivator standing on the public square suddenly exclaimed, "Look, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower has changed to 50 floors. Idiot, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower's 49th floor is 7-7, and it has remained 49th floor for countless years." A cultivator immediately scolded. The Culmination 3 towers were the symbol of culmination in the hearts of all the cultivators in the Grand Culmination Starry Sky. Even cultivators from the other Grand Starry Skies would come to the Culmination Grand Public Square to try to enter the Culmination 3 towers. "Ah, it really has changed to 50 floors. Another cultivator exclaimed, but soon his voice changed. "It's not 50 floors, it's the 51st floor." The Eternal Starry Sky Tower on the Culmination Public Square had changed from 49 floors to 51 floors. No one would believe such a ridiculous thing if it was said in other places. But since it was said here, they had to believe it. Because all the cultivators on the Culmination Public Square could see it with their eyes, they could even count the number of floors in the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. It's true, the number of floors in the Eternal Starry Sky Tower is increasing. Voices of disbelief rang out in the Culmination Public Square. The facts were right in front of them, and they had to believe it. A violent explosion erupted, and all the cultivators on the Culmination Public Square looked at the huge array formation display in front of the Eternal Starry Sky Tower in shock. Just now, the array formation display had exploded. Such a strange thing had never happened in the Culmination Public Square. Just when all the cultivators looked at each other, not knowing whether it was a blessing or a curse, another thing appeared in front of the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. It was a huge stone tablet. This stone tablet that suddenly appeared is also growing. A cultivator whispered. He seemed to be afraid that if his voice was too loud, the stone tablet would suddenly explode. The cultivators on the public square immediately quieted down. They could see that this stone tablet was not only growing, but it was also the same size as the Eternal Starry Sky Tower. The stone tablet had many distinct markings on it. Every time the Eternal Starry Sky Tower grew, the stone tablet would have an additional layer of markings. At this time, the Eternal Starry Sky Tower had already reached the 63rd floor. The Culmination Public Square's Eternal Starry Sky Tower was crazily growing. This strange news instantly spread throughout the Culmination Starland, and then spread out at the fastest speed. Chuan Xinlo was the first to appear in the Culmination Public Square, and then the various experts began to pour into the Culmination Public Square. Even the eternal powerhouses from the Grand Spirit Heaven, Devil Domain, and Demon Domain Starry Sky also rushed to the Culmination Starland. The Eternal Starry Sky Tower in the Culmination Public Square suddenly had this kind of heaven and earth phenomenon, which meant that the laws of heaven and earth had changed. As for the reason, no one knew. Ning Cheng didn't know about the Eternal Starry Sky Tower in the Culmination Public Square, as he continued to climb up. 70th floor. 71st floor. The pressure from the 71st floor to the 72nd floor had more than doubled, and the violent power made Ning Cheng feel his leg bones start to crackle. This pressure was completely different from the pressure he felt when he entered the mysterious Yellow Temple. The pressure he felt in the mysterious Yellow Temple was just a powerful, imposing aura. But here, he not only felt the pressure from the imposing aura, but also an invisible will pressure him. Was this the end? Ningqing looked at the golden stairs in front of him with some disappointment, and a sense of unwillingness rose in his heart. He had a hunch that as long as he reached the 72nd floor, he would gain more than the previous floors combined. As for the idea that he couldn't advance to the life and death realm without reaching the 72nd floor, he had already put it aside. No, he must not fall short of success. Ningqing started to burn his celestial essence, and as his celestial essence burned, it turned into a powerful force, which made his celestial river domain's imposing aura even more majestic. As Ningqing's power grew, so did the power of the golden stairs. One step, one step. Catcha! One of Ningqing's leg bones finally broke, and at this time, Ningqing finally stood on the 72nd floor. He brought out the Nirvana spear and forcibly supported his body. Looking up, he saw that there was still the 73rd floor, or even the 74th floor. Ningqing's heart filled with despair. This was his end, and he could only stop here. An indescribable Tao charm descended, sweeping away Ningqing's despair in an instant. At this moment, Ningqing's mind and will were filled with endless charm of the Grand Tao. Ningqing raised his hand and grabbed the returning to one leather scroll. It was because of this leather scroll that he had comprehended the embryonic form of his own Tao. Everything is born from the dark, everything is born from formlessness, spirit is born from Tao, form is born from essence, and all things are born from form. Neither yin nor yang, between heaven and earth, straight and upright, all things return to one. Everything between heaven and earth was born from form, and it would not come for no reason at all. Just like how bright things are born from darkness, form is because of formlessness, and spirit is born from Tao. Humans are born from yin and yang, have a body, and eventually return to the origin, returning to one. I understand. Ningqing muttered to himself. No matter how powerful the pressure of the golden stairs was, it still had an origin, which was returning to one. Burning his celestial essence to fight it head-on would be akin to neglecting the essentials. The best way was to find the source of this power. Chapter 699. On the 72nd floor of this tower, Ningqing finally understood his returning to one Tao. Everything in the world had its own origin, and would eventually return to one. It was just like, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things. If all things were reversed, they would return to one, which was called returning to one. Ningqing threw away an invisible shackle, which made him feel relaxed. His leg bones, which had already been broken by the pressure, naturally returned to their original state. Ningqing raised his hand, and the Tao charm naturally formed. The huge pressure around him disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had fused with everything on this floor, forming a whole. Bringing out the Nirvana spear, the spear pierced through the air, and space instantly stagnated. Unlike when he brought out the sunset's twilight before, this time, he felt the stagnant space under his complete control. It was a wonderful feeling. Perhaps, this was the real entry-level understanding of the laws of time. One day, he would be able to integrate all the laws into one and form, returning to one. Perhaps he would be able to achieve the supreme grand Tao. Putting away the Nirvana spear, Ningqing raised his hand and grasped it. The surrounding space seemed to have turned into a whole, and he grasped it completely. This wasn't the maximal flame spirit technique, but a simulated space-type spirit technique that Ningqing had created using the maximal flame spirit technique's laws. In the future, his maximal flame spirit technique didn't necessarily have to use the maximal flame explosion. He could also use other attacks. One day, his simulated space-type spirit technique would turn into a real space-type spirit technique. Ningqing didn't continue to the 73rd floor. Instead, he grabbed a crystal ball. It was the Mo clan's spirit technique, none to depend on. Now that he had a deep understanding of it, it was the most suitable time to comprehend none to depend on. Ningqing didn't touch the none to depend on wine he obtained from Zhu Jingfeng's ring. Instead, he took out a barrel of top-quality none to depend on wine. He didn't even use the wine pot, and directly lifted the barrel and took a sip. At the same time, his spiritual consciousness connected to the crystal ball. Boom! An indescribable sadness poured into Ning Cheng's mind. Ning Cheng, holding the barrel, fell into this sadness. Often apart, not abandoning the heart. Looking at the distant stars, none to depend on. Amid the sadness, the Tao charm of the spirit technique overflowed from the crystal ball, blending with Ning Cheng's sadness. Ancient road, west wind, skinny horse. The yellow sand was brought up by the west wind and covered the sky and the earth, drowning the long ancient road outside the village. He led the skinny horse and wanted to see his lover clearly on the ancient road, but the yellow sand blocked his eyes. As the sun set in the west, the ancient path was gradually submerged in the yellow sand that filled the sky. Everything in front of him slowly became blurry and darkness descended. Catcha! The crystal ball shattered, causing Ning Cheng to suddenly wake up. He looked up at the empty and boundless surroundings, while cold sweat oozed out from his back. If someone had suddenly used a killer move while he was immersed in his sorrowful emotions, he would have died long ago. So this was none to depend on, a heart path spirit technique. Bringing out the Nirvana spear, the sad and disappointed Tao charm followed the Nirvana spear, and filled the entire world. At this moment, this piece of heaven and earth turned into an ancient path. At this moment, his opponent was staring blankly at the yellow sand on the ancient path. At this moment, the entire world was filled with sorrow. At this moment he was the ruler. He was the ruler of this world. As long as his Nirvana spear swept out, everything in this world would perish. Whether it was the ancient path, the west wind, or the skinny horse, no matter how powerful one's opponent was. Ning Cheng put away his spear and stood still. Everything around him returned to its original state, and the sad aura dissipated without a trace. In front of him was still the 72nd floor. There was no ancient path, no west wind, no skinny horse and no yellow sand. So this is none to depend on. Ning Cheng muttered to himself, what a powerful spirit technique. He felt sure that if he encountered the none to depend on spirit technique for the first time, with his temperament, he would have fallen for it. Whether it was a good person or a bad person, whether it was a devil or an angel, whether it was a god or a monster, in their hearts, there was always a place that belonged to the depths of their souls, a place that no one else could touch. As long as this place existed, it would lead to the none to depend on spirit technique. Taking in a deep breath, Ning Cheng slowly walked towards the 73rd floor. On the 72nd floor, he had gained too much. The powerful pressure from the golden staircase swept over, but Ning Cheng no longer burned his celestial essence. Instead, his body exuded an aura of Tao charm, and his celestial river domain merged with the powerful force around him. The powerful pressure from the golden staircase instantly weakened, allowing Ning Cheng to easily cross the staircase and reach the 73rd floor. Sure enough, as long as one could find the source of power, Ning Cheng understood that the pressure source in this tower was a kind of law force. As long as one integrated and understood the laws within it, the surrounding pressure would instantly weaken. Once one fully grasped the laws within it, walking on this staircase would feel like taking a leisurely stroll. 74th floor, 75th floor. As Ning Cheng continued to ascend, his returning to one Tao charm grew more and more condensed. At the same time, his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth also grew clearer. He directly passed through the 79th floor, and arrived at the 80th floor. From the looks of it, this tower was the same as the 9x9 Celestial Scryer Tower that he had visited before, which also had 81 floors. Ning Cheng didn't hesitate. He didn't even have time to comprehend the Tao charm on the 80th floor, before stepping onto the staircase leading to the 81st floor. The returning to one Tao charm merged with the Tao charm of the tower's staircase, forming golden ripples around Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng felt like he was walking through these golden ripples, surrounded by a golden glow. Ning Cheng had just reached the 81st floor when the surrounding scenery suddenly changed. He no longer felt like he was inside the tower. Instead, he found himself surrounded by a vast starry sky. Beyond the vast starry sky was an even more vast and boundless void. Ning Cheng felt like he was standing in the middle of this endless starry sky, and his Tao charm also intertwined with this endless space. He could feel that the laws of this vast universe were broken and incomplete, which gave him an impulse to change the incomplete Tao charm laws of heaven and earth and make it whole. With just a thought, the Tao charm laws floated in front of his eyes before merging into the starry sky. The endless starry sky universe in front of him seemed to have become richer. And the Tao charm laws also gradually improved. The rumbling sounds of the perfected laws echoed in Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness. His gaze felt like a ray of light shooting out from the eyes of the sky, passing through layer after layer of interface space, and passing through layer after layer of living worlds. At this moment, he felt like a ruler standing high above the clouds. Time flowed slowly, and Ningcheng immersed himself in this wonderful feeling. He seemed to like the feeling of being in control of everything. The laws of heaven and earth had changed because of him, and the universe had perfected its Tao charm laws because of him. Not knowing how much time had passed, a mysterious yellow aura washed over, and Ningcheng suddenly woke up. He was just a little cultivator who hadn't advanced to the life and death realm. How could he change the laws of heaven and earth? How could he control the Tao charm of the universe? The moment he woke up, everything around him disappeared, and the starry sky of the universe turned into nothingness. His gaze could no longer pass through the interface space, and he could only see the things on this floor. The tower was still the same tower. Apart from the words 81st floor, floating in front of him, there was nothing else. Ningcheng took in a deep breath. He knew that he had fallen into an illusion just now. It felt as if he had really become the ruler of the universe, and could truly perfect the laws of heaven and earth. Fortunately, the mysterious yellow aura woke him up in time. Otherwise, he would have been arrogant enough to think that he could change the laws of heaven and earth of the entire starry sky universe. Sure enough, this tower only had 81 floors. Ningcheng sighed in relief. Here, he no longer sensed the golden staircase leading to the 82nd floor. This clearly showed that there were no higher levels in the tower. Something is not right. Ningcheng suddenly remembered the purpose of him entering this tower. He wanted to cross this tower in order to touch the life and death realm, and to comprehend the life and death realm. But now, not only could he not see where the tower's exit was, he couldn't even see the path he had come from. Right now, he was about to advance to the life and death realm. If he couldn't see the exit of the tower, how could he get out of the tower? If he could not leave the tower, how could he advance to the life and death realm? Life and death realm. Understanding yin and yang. Understanding life and death were a cycle. Only by understanding this cycle could one touch the life and death realm. Only the life and death concept pill could simulate the concept of life and death reincarnation. Ningcheng was an alchemy master, so he naturally knew about the life and death concept pill. He did not have a life and death mentality pellet. If he wanted to advance to the life and death realm, besides passing through this tower, he would need a mentality pellet that could simulate the life and death reincarnation. The cycle of life and death. Why did he need such a pill? He had already reincarnated once, from life to death, and from death to life again. The mysterious yellow bead was a witness, and the mysterious yellow bead had accompanied him from death to life. Ningcheng vaguely grasped a kind of understanding of life and death. Death and life were separated by a cycle, and he had experienced this cycle of reincarnation. Unlike others, he could still remember his previous life and this life after this cycle of reincarnation. His understanding of the cycle of life and death was much clearer than others, much clearer than others. Just as Ningcheng understood this moment, a golden door suddenly appeared at the end of the 81st floor. This golden door had a Tao charm of life and death samsara lingering over it. Ningcheng felt pleasantly surprised. He knew that as long as he pushed open this golden door, he could directly blast open the cultivation barrier to the life and death realm, and advance to the life and death realm. Ningcheng suppressed the joy in his heart, took a deep breath, walked up to the golden door, and pushed it open with both hands. The sky above the culmination grand public square, and the eternal starry sky tower erupted with golden light. Some of the cultivators with lower cultivations in the culmination public square even prostrated themselves on the ground and began to worship. It wasn't just this kind of heavenly phenomenon, but they also felt that the golden light seemed to have deepened their understanding. The top of the eternal starry sky tower had already become uncountable, And all the cultivators in the culmination public square had the same thought. The eternal starry sky tower seemed to have merged with the starry sky, and no one could count how many floors it had. Some cultivators in the heaven-seated realm and above looked at the changed eternal starry sky tower with fiery eyes. They could feel that the laws within the eternal starry sky tower seemed to be completely different from before. Perhaps, if they entered the eternal starry sky tower again, they would gain more recognition from this vast universe and understand more things. Chapter 700. Ningqing pushed open the golden door and saw the vast starry sky. In the vast starry sky, a pure white stone tablet floated. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness couldn't penetrate it. Was he still in an illusion? Ningqing frowned and raised his hand to grab the pure white stone tablet. The stone tablet felt cold and hard to the touch, without any illusions. What was going on? Ningqing had just thought of this when the scene around him suddenly disappeared. Was he still in the mysterious yellow bead? Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that he was still in the mysterious yellow bead. The tower had also disappeared, and the vast starry sky around him. No, the vast starry sky was still there, but the starry sky had become the starry sky inside the mysterious yellow bead. Ningqing looked around the mysterious yellow bead in shock. His mysterious yellow bead had changed. Originally, it only contained the aura of the origin laws, but now it contained the aura of the starry sky. His mysterious yellow bead also contained the aura of the starry sky, and it was still improving. That's right, the aura of the mysterious yellow bead's laws was constantly improving. Ningqing finally sobered up. He should have gone into seclusion inside the mysterious yellow bead. After advancing to the full circle of the heaven-seated realm, he wanted to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm. Originally, to break through the heaven-seated realm and advance to the life and death realm, he needed to leave the mysterious yellow bead and find the life and death concept pill. However, he ended up falling into an illusion and entered an 81-story tower. No, apart from the 81-story tower, there was also a golden door leading to the starry sky. Later, he perfected his Tao of returning to one in this tower, and even gained a deeper understanding of the sunset's twilight and the maximal flame spirit techniques. That's right, he also mastered a new spirit technique, none to depend on. Finally, he broke through the 81st floor of the tower and arrived at a new vast starry sky. When he grabbed a pure white stone tablet, everything disappeared without a trace. It was just that the laws of his mysterious yellow bead had started to change. To be more precise, the laws of his mysterious yellow bead had started to improve. The mysterious yellow bead no longer contained a few kinds of origin auras. Instead, it continued to improve the world's laws. Perhaps one day, his mysterious yellow bead would become the same as the outside world, and become a real starry sky world. This definitely wasn't an illusion. Ningqing looked down and saw a pure white stone tablet in his hand. He took in a deep breath and murmured, "It really wasn't an illusion." Although the pagoda was gone, the pure white stone tablet was still in his hands. Even his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate through this stone steel. Moreover, it contained a vast and boundless starry sky aura. This definitely was not an ordinary object. This kind of thing did not belong to the mysterious yellow bead itself, nor did it belong to him. The only explanation was that everything he had experienced before was real. But when he woke up from that state again, everything disappeared. Perhaps one day, when his cultivation reached a certain level, he would be able to restore the scene from before. Now only the stone tablet in his hand and the god art he comprehended could prove that everything he experienced was real. Putting away the stone steel, Ningqing found that he had already used up half of the 10 million permanent essence pills. The starry sky essence chi vein he obtained from the Su clan had also been completely consumed. Not only that, but even the starry sky essence chi vein he obtained from the Interdependence Chamber of Commerce had shrunk by less than half. The consumption was simply too terrifying. Ningqing gave out a sigh. Every time he took a step forward, the consumption of cultivation resources would increase by several times. Fortunately, his cultivation base had reached the full circle of heaven realm, which was similar to the feeling in the pagoda. He had touched the life and death realm. Walking out of the mysterious yellow bead, Ningqing directly arranged a spiritual gathering array formation on the broken starland. He had already touched the life and death realm. In other words, he didn't need the life and death mentality pellet at all. He could go through the life and death calamity and attack the life and death realm. When Ningqing started to attack the life and death realm, he finally understood what it meant when he said that the perception of the Tao was directly related to the level of one's realm. Initially, when he tried to break through to the heaven-seated realm, he had to go through it countless times. Finally, with the help of the Celestial River Essence Qi King Pill, he barely managed to break through it. But at this time, when he tried to break through to the life and death realm, it was as if the conditions were right. His celestial essence directly blasted into the cultivation barrier of the life and death realm. This kind of violent impact caused his entire meridians to sway, and even his Zifu was trembling from the impact. It was conceivable that as long as he kept attacking, the life and death realm would eventually be broken. However, Ningqing had only launched his first attack when violent lightning arcs roared out. As the endless lightning arcs fell, Ningqing was unable to calculate how many lightning arcs there were. Boom. Kacha. Just the first wave of lightning arcs blasted the broken starland where Ningqing resided into pieces. All that remained under Ningqing's feet was a broken meteorite with a radius of a few dozen miles. Even Ningqing's clothes had turned into nothingness at this moment. Not waiting for Ningqing to come up with any defensive means, even more powerful lightning tribulation arcs descended. These lightning arcs were like a real thunder waterfall, mixed with a substantial thunder ball. Poof! Under the powerful lightning arcs, Ningqing spat out a mouthful of blood for the first time, while his bones broke inch by inch. Even if Ningqing operated the mysterious yellow formless and the body-forging cultivation method to the extreme, even if he was a body-forging expert with a celestial river body, he still couldn't block this terrifying lightning tribulation. Ningqing felt a shadow in his heart. Ever since he obtained the everlasting Blue Thunder City, which allowed him to refine the thunder source and body-forging technique, he had never put thunder tribulations in his eyes. In fact, it also proved that he did not fear thunder tribulations at all. No matter what kind of thunder tribulation it was, it would not hurt him. Thunder tribulations could only help him advance to a higher level faster, allowing his body-forging technique to progress further. But today, he unexpectedly couldn't block this thunder tribulation. Not only could he not block it, but just the first wave of the thunder tribulation had already seriously injured him. Boom boom boom. The endless lightning arcs seemed to know that they had won the first wave, and when the second wave fell, it was even more violent. Ningqing struggled to get up, raised his hand, and brought out the everlasting Blue Thunder City, while swallowing several healing medicinal pills. Since he could start body forging, he had never relied on the everlasting Blue Thunder City during a thunder tribulation. But today he had to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder City to resist. Kacha! Kacha! The second wave of the thunder tribulation was even more violent. More than half of Ningqing's everlasting Blue Thunder City had turned solid, but under this kind of thunder waterfall, it still exploded. Under the thunder tribulation, the everlasting Blue Thunder City looked like a ruined city, with half of it destroyed. The shadow that had not yet turned solid directly turned into nothingness. Rumble. The remaining thunder waterfall once again smashed down on the everlasting Blue Thunder City, directly hitting Ningqing. Ningqing's bones continued to break, while his skin once again turned into a bloody mess. If not for the everlasting Blue Thunder City being Ningqing's weapon, he would have turned into a meat patty by now. But this time, with the help of the everlasting Blue Thunder City, although Ningqing's bones continued to break, his life was saved. At this moment, Ningqing only knew how to crazily absorb the thunder source to repair his bones and temper his corporeal body. When the third wave of the thunder tribulation descended, the everlasting Blue Thunder City continued to block it. Although the aftershocks caused Ningqing's injuries to worsen, Ningqing continued to use it to temper his corporeal body. Under this kind of violent thunder that could kill him at any time, Ningqing completely forgot that he was still trying to break through to the life and death realm, and put all his energy into tempering his corporeal body. In other words, even if Ningcheng wanted to break through to the life and death realm, he could not. Under this kind of violent thunder tribulation, he could only protect himself. He had no spare energy to break through to the life and death realm. The thunder tribulation seemed endless, and it continued to descend. Ningcheng's cultivation did not change, but his corporeal body was getting stronger and stronger, and his celestial river body was gradually reaching perfection. This was probably the longest time Ningcheng had ever taken to surmount a tribulation. He could not remember how many days he had resisted, nor could he remember how many waves of thunder tribulation he had endured. He only remembered that he had to constantly bring out the everlasting blue thunder city to block the terrifying thunder tribulation, and then use a body-forging cultivation method to strengthen his corporeal body. Boom! Another thunder waterfall descended, and Ningcheng's celestial essence finally could not hold on. His everlasting blue thunder city's corporeal form grew weaker and weaker before finally turning into a shadow once again. The blue thunder city's shadow, under the bombardment of this thunder waterfall, directly turned into nothingness, and the remaining lightning struck Ningcheng's body. Cock-a-poof. At this moment, Ningcheng's skin turned even more miserable, and almost all his bones shattered. Even if he had a strong self-sustaining ability, he could not reverse this decline. The violent thunder arcs and thunder waterfall bombardment, which shattered all of Ningcheng's bones, also allowed Ningcheng's body to break through to the celestial river realm. The moment Ningcheng's corporeal body rushed into the starry sky body, his broken bones began to reform. It was like a spring breeze blowing through a field burned by fire, with new grass struggling to emerge from the soil. Kaka. Sounds once again filled Ningcheng's body, but this time, it was no longer the sound of bones breaking, but the sound of bones reforming. In just a few breaths, Ningcheng's bones had completely reformed, and his flesh and skin also quickly recovered. Boom boom boom. A new wave of thunder tribulation descended, with lightning arcs and thunder waterfalls mixed with dense thunder balls. Ningcheng roared and suddenly abandoned the broken meteorite under his feet, and rushed into the sky. This was the first time he had been bullied so miserably by a thunder tribulation. Although his body had reached the starry sky body realm under the suppression of this powerful thunder tribulation, he could not eliminate the grievance in his heart. Only by rushing up to bombard this thunder tribulation, and fighting back with all his might could he feel a sense of comfort and pleasure. He didn't even bother to attack the life and death realm. He wanted to get back at the bullying of this thunder tribulation. You hit me, bully me, suppress me. I will fight back, bully back, suppress back. Don't expect me to be kind enough to return good for evil. Don't expect me to endure it. 1 punch, 2 punches. In this moment, Ningcheng had no idea how many punches he had thrown. He didn't use any spirit techniques or weapons, just fists made of flesh and blood. He wanted to use his fists to fight against this thunder tribulation that wanted to kill him. Every punch landed on the spot, and every punch landed on a lightning arc. Ka-ka-ka-ka-ka. Bang 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 bang. The fists and lightning intersected, producing dull sounds. However, no flesh and blood flew out, only bloody scars. After Ningcheng advanced to the starry sky body, the thunder tribulation could no longer suppress him like before. Instead, it left his body in tatters. Boom rumble. The thunder tribulation seemed to have angered Ningcheng's arrogance, and gave out even more violent roars. At the same time, more powerful lightning arcs descended. Ningcheng's eyes narrowed, and he could clearly feel the laws within the thunder tribulation becoming clearer. This was the first time he had felt such clear laws of heaven and earth in a thunder tribulation. In the distance, a flight-type magical weapon that had arrived because of this terrifying thunder tribulation stopped thousands of miles away. He stared at Ningcheng rushing towards the thunder tribulation arcs, and the roars of the thunder tribulation. He couldn't help but mutter to himself, "Crazy, this is simply crazy." Chapter 701. The cultivator watching Ningcheng surmounting the tribulation couldn't believe what he saw. Even if it was an eternal thunder tribulation, it wouldn't have such terrifying thunder power, right? If one were to say that this cultivator was extremely powerful, then the lightning tribulation would also be extremely powerful. But who would not only not use a magic treasure to resist this kind of lightning tribulation, but also rush into the lightning tribulation and use their fists to smash the tribulation lightning? Was he a Tao-confirming cultivator? Even a Tao-confirming powerhouse would not dare to do such a thing. At this moment, although he was muttering crazy, he didn't know who he was referring to. He didn't know if it was the tribulation lightning that had gone crazy, or if it was the cultivator who was crossing the tribulation that had gone crazy. Ningqing did not know if the thunder tribulation was triggered by the laws of heaven and earth, or if it was controlled by something. But he knew that after he got angry, the lightning tribulation seemed to get angry as well. Ningqing didn't know if this thunder tribulation with powerful laws violated the laws of heaven and earth, but he didn't feel frightened by this powerful thunder tribulation. Even so, he still used his fists to resist the tribulation lightning arcs. But this time, Ningqing did not directly disperse the lightning arcs like the last time. Instead, the lightning arcs containing powerful laws once again tore apart Ningqing's arm. Not only that, but the next wave of the thunder tribulation descended one after another. The entire space seemed to have been locked down by the thunder tribulation, causing Ningqing to struggle to even move. Facing the thunder tribulation with the laws of space, Ningqing grew angrier, but at the same time, he grew more rational. He understood that if he continued to fight like this, he would definitely not be a match. He would be at a disadvantage, and he might even be blasted to death by the lightning tribulation. The reason why the lightning tribulation kept falling was because he had yet to advance to the life and death realm. As long as he reached the life and death realm and broke through the shackles of his cultivation base, the rules of the life and death realm thunder tribulation would no longer exist. Even if it continued to fall, after he advanced to the life and death realm, this thunder tribulation was nothing to him. Ka-ka, thunder rumbled down one after another. The powerful laws of space seemed to want to lock Ningqing in place and turn him into dust in space. Ningqing took in a deep breath and landed on the broken meteorite. Although the thunder tribulation rained down on him, he did not move an inch. Instead, he just crazily condensed his celestial essence. The moment the dense lightning tribulation fell on his body, he suddenly punched out. This was his first time using his sacred art during the lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation had its own laws of heaven and earth, and he also had his own nomological sacred art. Sunset's twilight. The sunset was infinitely beautiful, but it was nearing dusk. Even the lightning tribulation had its dusk. As such, Ningqing did not fear the thunder tribulation that did not have any life. Thunder tribulations endowed with the laws of heaven and earth were equivalent to having life. Thunder tribulations with life also had to face the restrictions of the laws. The thunder tribulation also had dusk. Even if its dusk was very short, it was still dusk. Dusk appeared, and the lightning arcs paused for a moment. This moment might have lasted for several breaths, or perhaps only one breath, or perhaps not even a tenth of a breath. But at this moment, the tribulation thunder indeed paused under the influence of sunset's twilight. The celestial essence that Ningqing had crazily gathered poured down like water from a broken dam, directly hitting the barrier of the life and death realm. Boom! Ningqing's suppressed cultivation exploded with this sound. Ningqing's entire body and mind felt empty at this moment, while his meridians filled with celestial essence suddenly opened up. His powerful cultivation and the laws of heaven and earth instantly flowed through his meridians like a sweet spring. At the same time, the power of laws also became clear at this moment. His starry sky sea of consciousness also started to spread and stretch. In just a moment, Ningqing blasted open the cultivation barrier of the life and death realm, breaking through the shackles and advancing to the life and death realm. Bang bang bang. Endless thunder tribulation arcs broke through the dusk and fell on Ningqing's body. Bloody marks appeared on Ningqing's skin one after another, but those bloody marks disappeared in the blink of an eye. His arm, which had been torn apart by the thunder tribulation, also recovered at this moment. Ningqing rushed up again and punched out several times. The thunder tribulation arcs that had not yet fallen directly dissipated under Ningqing's punches. When Ningqing once again landed on the broken meteorite, not a single lightning arc fell from the endless starry sky, and the entire starry sky regained its tranquility. His life and death realm thunder tribulation had finally passed. Ning Cheng's body forging had advanced to the starry sky body during this thunder tribulation, and his cultivation had truly stepped into the life and death realm. After using several dirt removal techniques on himself, Ning Cheng changed into a set of clean clothes. A moment later, his gaze fell to the distance, where a cultivator had just watched his thunder tribulation. The moment his thunder tribulation disappeared, that cultivator had fled in panic, seemingly afraid that he would settle accounts with him. Ning Cheng wasn't in the mood to find that cultivator to settle accounts with. Instead, he brought out the starry sky wheel and chased after the cultivator. What he wanted to ask was where this place was. However, Ning Cheng didn't chase too far before stopping. He had already recognized this place. He had come to this place once before, when he was being chased by that pale-faced cultivator. This place was the periphery of the ancient Desolace abandoned land. As soon as he thought of the ancient Desolace abandoned land, Ning Cheng immediately recalled the Foreign Heavens arrow. The first time he saw the Foreign Heavens arrow, he only had Heaven's Mandate cultivation. Because his spiritual consciousness had swept through the Foreign Heavens arrow, he had ended up coughing up a mouthful of blood due to the powerful death suppression. At that time, his cultivation was still too low. Even if he knew that this was the Foreign Heavens arrow, even if he knew that this arrow had shot the everlasting blue thunder fort into the void, he still couldn't take away this arrow. Ning Cheng had coveted this arrow for a long time. He didn't know how many years this arrow had remained in this place, but no one had taken it away, because no cultivator had the ability to take it away. Now that he had advanced to the life and death realm, even if he didn't come here, he would definitely come here for this arrow in the future. Not to mention that he accidentally came to this place. His cultivation might still fall short of an eternal level starry sky emperor. However, Ning Cheng believed that he wouldn't fear ordinary eternal level cultivators. Moreover, he also had one of his biggest secrets, which was his starry sky sea of consciousness. No one could compare to his sea of consciousness, not even eternal level cultivators. Moreover, his refining method was the mysterious yellow formless, which no one could compare to. Although eternal level experts couldn't take away this Foreign Heavens arrow, it didn't mean that he couldn't. Even if he couldn't take it away, he had to give it a try. As soon as Ning Cheng rushed into the ancient Desolace abandoned land, the desolation, vicissitudes, and broken aura immediately rushed over. Because he had come to the ancient Desolace abandoned land once, Ning Cheng felt a little familiar with this place. Therefore, he didn't go to the merchant ships on the periphery of the ancient Desolace abandoned land. Instead, he planned to head directly to the location of the Foreign Heavens arrow. However, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness still swept out and soon saw an acquaintance, Warren. Warren and Ning Cheng had worked together in the past, and obtained a lot of cultivation resources. But now, Ning Cheng understood that Warren hadn't broken through Heaven's Mandate realm, and advanced to the Heaven-seated realm. He still remained in Heaven's Mandate realm, and his aura felt a little chaotic. It wasn't even as good as when he teamed up with him. Ning Cheng shook his head. The cultivators who survived in the ancient Desolace abandoned land had to wear their heads on their waists every day. Therefore, it was normal for them to suffer injuries due to encountering dangers. But for cultivators like Warren, who stayed in the ancient Desolace abandoned land all year round, it would be strange if he didn't suffer any injuries. What's more, advancing to the heaven-seated realm wasn't easy. Many cultivators could only linger in the Heaven's Mandate realm for the rest of their lives. Just as Ning Cheng was about to take back his spiritual consciousness, a cultivator standing not far from Warren suddenly raised his palm and slapped Warren's face. Warren's face took the brunt of the slap, and 5 bloody scars appeared on it. However, Warren didn't move, but his eyes flashed with a bit of grievance. Ning Cheng frowned. The cultivator who slapped Warren was at best a cultivator in Heaven's Mandate realm. Why would Warren stand still and let others slap him? Wasn't this not in line with his identity as someone who had adventured in the ancient Desolace abandoned land for many years? At this moment, the cultivator who slapped Warren raised his hand again and slapped him again. Warren still didn't resist. Ning Cheng felt a little uncomfortable. He still had a good impression of Warren. It was because Warren had invited him to the crow's nest that he obtained so many cultivation resources. Now that Warren looked so aggrieved, Ningqing naturally felt uncomfortable in his heart. Warren was also his former teammate. Thinking of this, Ningqing immediately turned a corner and landed on the merchant ship where Warren was. The cultivator standing in front of Warren once again raised his palm and slapped Warren. Warren still didn't move, but this time his palm did not hit Warren's face. Instead, a palm appeared out of thin air and grabbed it. The cultivator looked at the person who grabbed his wrist in shock and didn't dare to say a word. He was a cultivator in the Heaven's Mandate realm. Yet someone grabbed his wrist and couldn't even move. What could he dare to say? Senior. Warren also recognized Ningqing and called out in surprise. Ningqing flicked his hand and threw the cultivator who was about to slap Warren far away. He then smiled at Warren and spoke. It looks like you haven't been doing well recently. Are you Yuanxue and Dodi doing well? My name is Ningqing. Don't call me senior in the future. We used to be teammates. Ningqing came from Earth and didn't care much about seniority. Who are you? Why did you attack me? After Ningqing left the cultivator far behind, he finally dared to ask Ningqing a question. I'm Warren's friend. Remember, I haven't done anything to you yet. If I did, do you think you could still stand here? Ningqing glanced at the cultivator and spoke with a calm voice. What great power! Oquan, take another step forward and let him do it. I'd like to see how he plans to attack my O clan's people. A white-robed cultivator appeared in front of Ningqing almost at the same time as his voice. Warren quickly bowed and spoke. Warren greets Senior O. After that, Warren turned to Ningqing and spoke. Brother Ning, this senior is O Zhentian of the O clan. He is O Hongxin's uncle. Ningqing suddenly understood. O Hongxin had originally teamed up with them and later fell on the Crow Star. However, Ma Shimin killed O Hongxin, which meant that this matter had nothing to do with Warren. Now that the O clan's people came, it seemed like they wanted to put the blame on Warren. It was simply ridiculous. Chapter 702. Ma Shimin killed O Hongxin, and I killed Ma Shimin to avenge him. This matter has nothing to do with Warren. Ningqing spoke with a calm voice. This O Zhentian in front of him was just a cultivator who had just advanced to the heaven-seated realm. To be honest, Ningqing didn't put him in his eyes. But considering O Hongxin's death, he didn't care about O Zhentian's attitude. Warren was the captain of the original team. Since O Hongxin died, he also had to bear some responsibility. Being beaten up by people from the O clan, he could only blame his bad luck. You're the cultivator named Qing Yanxiong, right? So you're very powerful? In other words, you also had a part in Hongxin's death. O Quan, go slap me a few times and take these two back. O Zhentian spoke with an emotionless tone. He had been looking for this Qing Yanxiong everywhere, but he didn't expect him to come to him. O Quan shrunk his neck. How could he dare to go forward and hit Ningqing? O Zhentian, on seeing O Quan not daring to step forward, suddenly frowned. Without waiting for him to speak, Ningqing laughed. According to what you said, the people from the O clan should take a nanny with them when they go out for a trial. Oh, by the way, they should have a maid to help them dress and bathe. Haha, your O clan's people are so precious. Why would they go out for a trial? Wouldn't it be safer to hide at home? After saying that, Ningqing didn't bother with O Zhentian and directly spoke to Warren. Warren, come with me. Ningqing guessed that if he said those words, O Zhentian would definitely start. For the sake of O Hongxin, Ningqing didn't plan to teach this O Zhentian a lesson. Brother Ning, I can't go. Yu Wanxue has been taken to the O clan. Warren hesitated and whispered. He didn't know that O Hongxin's family was so powerful before. He thought that O Hongxin was like them, a rogue cultivator whose death no one knew about. Who knew that O Hongxin's death would cause such a big incident? Ningqing raised his eyebrows and his face sank. His tone no longer had the previous calmness. O Zhentian, did your O clan also capture Yu Wanxue? O Zhentian took a step forward, raised his hand and grabbed towards Ningqing, and spoke. You're right, since you also have a share, then let's go to the grave together with Hong Xian. A powerful imposing aura came crashing down. But this kind of imposing aura dissipated without a trace in the face of Ning Cheng's wave of a hand. Ning Cheng also took a step forward and reached out to grab it. As a heaven-seated cultivator, Ozhentian was naturally not an idiot. Ning Cheng took a step forward, and his domain collapsed in an instant. The imposing aura he radiated immediately dissipated, and was replaced by a powerful killing power that pressed down on his head. Feeling this aura that made him unable to move, Ozhentian's face turned pale. At this moment, he understood that Ning Cheng wasn't a Heaven's Mandate cultivator at all, but an eternal starry sky emperor. Apart from an eternal level powerhouse, who else could suppress him to the point that he couldn't even move? Not waiting for Ozhentian to put up any resistance, Ning Cheng's hand had already grabbed Ozhentian's neck and lifted the relatively short Ozhentian into the air. Ozhentian was a heaven-seated cultivator, yet Ning Cheng picked him up like a chicken. His feet dangled in the air, and his face turned as red as a pig's liver. As a heaven-seated cultivator, even if he didn't breathe, he wouldn't suffocate to death. But on this merchant ship, someone picked him up like a chicken. How could he, Ozhentian, still have the face to see anyone? You mean your O clan also took away Yuan Xue? Ning Cheng's voice no longer had the warmth from before, and it also turned ice-cold. Warren and O Quan, on seeing Ning Cheng pick up the heaven-seated powerhouse Ozhentian like a chicken, suddenly froze. What kind of cultivation did one need to have such power? Warren knew that Ning Cheng had a high cultivation, but he didn't expect Ning Cheng to be this strong. By this time, many cultivators had already gathered around the deck of the merchant ship. These cultivators all looked at Ning Cheng in shock. Where did this powerhouse come from? Ozhentian had come here to investigate O Hongxin's matter, and everyone knew him. This was a powerhouse in the heaven-seated realm. But now this heaven-seated powerhouse was picked up by someone without even a shred of resistance. If Yuan Xue loses even half a hair, I will make a trip to the O clan. Ning Cheng picked up Ozhentian and spoke with a cold voice. Ozhentian felt as if his heart had been poured with the coldest ice water. The previous humiliation had long since disappeared, replaced by fear and panic. The O clan didn't even have a single eternal cultivator. A powerhouse who could pick him up like this could definitely destroy the entire O clan. Killing Ozhentian would be as easy as crushing an ant. Just when Ozhentian was still in a state of panic, something suddenly appeared in his dantian. Before he could understand what was going on, Ning Cheng threw him onto the deck of the merchant ship. Ozhentian, I placed a restriction in your dantian. I don't have time to talk to you right now. After I finish my business, I will go to your O clan for a visit. If I don't unlock this restriction within a year, do you know what will happen to you? I know. Ozhentian didn't care about face at this time. Warren, I have something to do. I will come back here within a year. If you have any news, send me a message. My communication pearl can still be used. After Ning Cheng threatened Ozhentian, he gave Warren some instructions. He was in a hurry to refine the Foreign Heaven's arrow and didn't have time to go to the O clan. He believed that the O clan wasn't stupid and wouldn't kill Warren and Yuan Xue for something like this. Senior, Yuan Xue was taken to Culmination Starland. Within a year, this junior can't bring her back here. Ozhentian's tone sounded as if he was about to cry. In fact, he wanted to take away Yuan Xue and Warren to vent his anger and establish his prestige. Naturally, he also wanted to know what good things Warren, Yuan Xue and the others obtained on the Crow Star. Even an idiot would know that this matter had nothing to do with Yuan Xue and Warren. Ozhentian had just advanced to the heaven-seated realm when he learned that O Hongxin, who participated in the ancient Desolace Abandoned Lands trial, had fallen. Naturally, he wanted to establish his prestige. However, the person who killed O Hongxin had already died, and he couldn't find a target to establish his prestige. Coupled with his investigation, he also learned that a fellow named Cheng Nianqiong had taken away all the good things on the Crow Star. Cheng Nianqiong, Warren, Yuan Xue and O Hongxin were in the same team. Since Cheng Nianqiong got the majority, Warren and the others would definitely get a share. Then wait for me in Culmination Starland within a year. If I don't see you when I arrive at Culmination Starland, you know the consequences. Ning Cheng spoke without even a shred of politeness. Ozhentian quickly spoke up. Yes, yes, senior. Where in Culmination Starland will this junior wait for senior? Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City's Baichi Artifact Crafting Store. Ning Cheng replied casually. Once he returned to Culmination Starland, he would have to go to Baichi Artifact Crafting Store to see Jian Jiao. Ning. Senior, I'll also go with you. I invited Wuxia into the team. If something happens to her, I also have some responsibility. Warren quickly spoke up. After learning about Ning Cheng's terrifying cultivation, he no longer dared to continue addressing Ning Cheng as Brother Ning. Ning Cheng could only let him be and turned to Ozhentian. Take Warren to Eternal Heaven Starry Sky City. I'll come back within a year. Yes. How could Ozhentian dare to say even half a word at this time? Ning Cheng guessed that the O clan would not start a feud with him over Warren and Wuxia. Seeing Ozhentian agree, he also bid farewell to Warren and left. If he could refine the Foreign Heavens arrow, it would not take more than a year. If he couldn't refine it, then even a few more years would not help him. Therefore, Ning Cheng set a 1-year appointment. After Ning Cheng advanced to the life and death realm, both his cultivation and his body forging had reached an extremely high level. Although the periphery of the ancient Desolace abandoned land was filled with dangers, these dangers could not harm Ning Cheng. In just half a day, Ning Cheng once again arrived at the periphery of the Foreign Heavens arrow. Unlike the previous time when his spiritual consciousness swept over, Ning Cheng now stood at the edge of this broken starry field. A huge black arrow stabbed into the middle of the starry field, and a powerful death suppression came crashing down, squeezing Ning Cheng's celestial river domain. Previously, when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept over this giant arrow, it had forced him to spit out a mouthful of blood. But today, Ning Cheng stood right outside this giant arrow, completely unaffected. From this giant arrow, Ning Cheng could only feel a powerful killing intent. This killing intent carried with it a whistling sound that pierced through the starry sky. If it were a cultivator with a weaker mind, under this powerful killing intent, they would have already crawled on the ground. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and slowly approached the giant arrow. Since it was something that even eternal cultivators couldn't refine, even if he wanted to give it a try, he wouldn't act too recklessly. When Ning Cheng was about 100 miles away from the giant black arrow, the black arrow suddenly gave out a buzzing sound. An invisible killing intent shot out from the black arrow, and this invisible killing intent quickly transformed into a substantial arrow shadow. Ning Cheng's celestial river domain couldn't resist it at all, and the arrows filled with killing intent directly rushed into Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. Ning Cheng's expressions changed. He finally understood why no one had refined this black arrow to this day. He was now about 100 miles away from the black arrow. Yet this killing intent had already rushed into his sea of consciousness. If he got any closer, the killing intent would have definitely surged towards him, and it wouldn't stop until he died. What Ning Cheng didn't expect was that the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort, which required him to mobilize to resist the black arrow, also started to tremble after the buzzing sound from the black arrow. The moment the black arrow entered Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness, the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort immediately rushed up. Lightning arcs burst out from the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort and collided with the black arrow's killing intent. Ning Cheng's starry sky sea of consciousness instantly turned into a battlefield. But at this time, Ning Cheng hadn't started yet. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. He understood the restlessness of the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Although the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort's artifact spirit wasn't here, the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort had fallen into the void because of this black arrow. Moreover, its artifact spirit had also gone missing because of this black arrow. Now that they met again, it could be said to be the meeting of enemies. If the artifact spirit were here, this hatred would have been countless times more intense. Chapter 703. Although this black arrow was powerful, it had been stuck here for who knows how many years. Moreover, it was an ownerless object. The arrow's intense murderous aura invaded Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness. However, it had long since lost its previous valiance and was directly blocked by Ning Cheng's everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. As Ning Cheng moved forward once again, the black arrow seemed to have sensed Ning Cheng's approach, causing it to hum and tremble even more. At the same time, an increasingly powerful killing intent started to spread out from the black arrow, constantly transforming into endless arrow intents that shot towards Ningcheng. However, this time the arrow intent did not continue to blast into Ningcheng's sea of consciousness, but directly wrapped around Ningcheng. Even if Ningcheng advanced to the life and death realm, his celestial river domain still couldn't completely block the remnant arrow intent's murderous intent. Puff puff puff. The arrow intent's murderous aura completely exploded on Ningcheng's body. However, this powerful murderous aura only managed to tear a few tears in Ningcheng's robes. It couldn't do anything to Ningcheng. This also showed the power of the starry sky body. If he still had a celestial river body, then in the face of such a powerful arrow intent filled with killing intent, he would have no choice but to bring out a weapon to resist it. Once he used his magic treasure to resist, he would not be able to refine this black arrow. No wonder this black arrow had been here for so long without anyone refining it. Not to mention the powerful killing intent that invaded his sea of consciousness. Even this domain-breaking arrow intent was hard to block. Fortunately, he still had the everlasting blue thunder fort in his sea of consciousness, and his body forging had just advanced to the starry sky body. These were insurmountable obstacles for others, but they were effortless for him. As Ningcheng approached, the black arrow trembled even more fiercely. The buzzing sound seemed to contain a powerful anger, while the killing power coming from the arrow's intent also grew more and more powerful. However, Ningcheng still continued to move forward step by step, ignoring the killing intent emanating from the black arrow. In front of his starry sky body, these killing intents could not tear apart his body. When Ningcheng arrived in front of the black arrow, he suddenly raised his hand and grabbed the shaft of the black arrow, while his spiritual consciousness immediately penetrated into it. The moment Ningcheng grabbed the shaft of the black arrow, a shadowless killing intent suddenly rushed into Ningcheng's starry sky sea of consciousness, even avoiding the everlasting blue thunder fort. A tearing pain came through, causing Ningcheng to feel incomparably horrified in his heart. Once this killing intent penetrated his sea of consciousness, even if he didn't die, he would be severely injured. Even if he had the sifting fairy grass, Ningcheng did not dare to try it. Almost without even thinking about it, Ningcheng's thoughts immediately communicated with the imperial jade seal that was filled with the power of hope. In addition to the everlasting blue thunder city, the only magical weapon that could help him in his sea of consciousness was the imperial jade seal. The grade of the celestial river flame was too low, and could not be used against the enemy. The imperial jade seal, under the control of Ningcheng's thoughts, turned into a golden light, as it transformed into a giant mountain, which smashed into the shadowless killing intent in his sea of consciousness. Boom! A terrifying explosion raged within Ningcheng's sea of consciousness, causing Ningcheng to almost faint from the explosion. His sea of consciousness trembled violently, as if an earthquake had suddenly occurred. The shadowless killing intent released by the black arrow vaguely let out a sharp screech, but under the great pressure of the jade seal, it turned into nothingness. Ningcheng felt relieved, as his spiritual consciousness crazily invaded the black arrow and began to refine it. After Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness invaded the black arrow, the prestige of the black arrow seemed to have dissipated. It no longer had the strength to attack Ningcheng, and could only form one obstacle after another around the restrictions. Ningcheng had already steeled his heart to refine this black arrow. Even if this black arrow had many obstacles, his spiritual consciousness combined with his celestial essence continued to bombard it one after another, just like a rolling wave, without end. As the stalemate continued, the killing intent around Black Arrow gradually shrank. No matter how fast the killing intent shrank, no matter how strong the defense, it could not stop Ningcheng's refining speed. Not knowing how much time passed, the Black Arrow and Ningcheng's sea of consciousness simultaneously issued a slight, catch a sound, and the Black Arrow's resistance instantly weakened. Ningcheng felt happy in his heart. He knew that he had refined the first layer of restrictions on this Black Arrow. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Now that the first layer of restrictions had been refined, the later layers of restrictions were like bamboo in front of Ningcheng, breaking apart and falling into Ningcheng's control. This was the 37th day since Ningcheng sat here and refined the Black Arrow. Ning Cheng completely forgot about all the disturbances around him while refining the black arrow. Because of Ning Cheng refining the black arrow, the killing intent around the black arrow started to converge, alarming some of the cultivators who came here. As the first cultivator discovered that someone was refining the black arrow, the killing intent around the black arrow also weakened, causing more and more cultivators to rush over. At this time, the periphery of the broken star where the black arrow was located was already filled with all kinds of cultivators. These people all looked at Ning Cheng refining the black arrow in awe. Which powerhouse is this? How could he refine the foreign heavens arrow? It should be a Tao-confirming powerhouse. That's absolutely it. Eternal-level Starry Sky Emperors can't do this. If only I could become this senior's disciple. Don't even dream about it. This kind of powerhouse would never accept a disciple here. Before, they couldn't even get close to this broken star. But because someone was refining the black arrow, they could finally see the black arrow up close. The cultivators who could watch Ning Cheng refine the black arrow were all rogue cultivators who sought survival in the ancient Desolace abandoned land. The news spread out at the fastest speed, causing more and more cultivators to rush over from afar. Even some eternal-level Starry Sky Emperors had received the news and rushed to the ancient Desolace abandoned land. Who wouldn't want a treasure like the foreign heavens arrow? Now that someone was about to refine it, who wouldn't care about it? However, they were doomed to not be able to witness Ning Cheng refining the black arrow, let alone participate in the competition for the black arrow. After more than a month of refining, Ning Cheng had already gained full control over the black arrow. He suddenly stood up and raised his hand to pull it out. The huge black arrow whistled through the air and left the broken star. As soon as the black arrow left the broken star exploded into pieces and dissipated into the endless void of the ancient Desolace abandoned land. After the black arrow fell into Ning Cheng's hand, it quickly shrank and even started to fade in color. In just a few breaths, the black arrow shrank to only a few feet in size. Ning Cheng put the black arrow into his ring and gave out a joyful roar. At the same time, he brought out the Starry Sky Wheel. The next moment, the Starry Sky Wheel tore through the air and disappeared over the ancient Desolace abandoned land. Even spiritual consciousness couldn't catch up to it. Ning Cheng had just left when some nearby eternal-level powerhouses rushed over. However, they were a step too late and couldn't even catch a glimpse of the black arrow. Someone refined and took away the foreign heavens arrow? An eternal-level powerhouse stared at the place where the broken star disappeared and muttered to himself with a frown. His tone also contained a strong killing intent. Who didn't want the foreign heavens arrow? But now, someone he didn't even know had refined it and taken it away. How could he tolerate it? Brother Peng, although we all want the foreign heavens arrow, I also have a bit of self-awareness. Someone who can take away the heavens arrow, hee. An eternal cultivator, who had just arrived, spoke up after hearing those words. The eternal-level cultivator, who previously had a strong killing intent, gave out a sigh when he heard those words, and the killing intent in his eyes gradually dissipated. He understood the meaning behind those words. Since the other party could refine the heavens arrow and even take away the foreign heavens arrow, he definitely couldn't compare to them. If one day he really met the powerhouse who took away the foreign heavens arrow, he would most likely be the one to fall. Since Ning Cheng dared to openly take away the foreign heavens arrow, he naturally didn't fear any eternal-level cultivators. It's just that he didn't want to clash with other eternal-level powerhouses, unless it was a last resort. Therefore, as soon as he obtained the foreign heavens arrow, he immediately left. Ning Cheng had refined the Starry Sky Wheel to the 81st layer of restrictions, which allowed him to move several times faster than before. Ning Cheng called out Chasing Bull, and let Chasing Bull control the Starry Sky Wheel to head towards Culmination Starland while he continued to refine the foreign heavens arrow. The restrictions on this black arrow seemed to be endless. As soon as Ning Cheng refined a layer of restrictions, another layer of restrictions immediately appeared on it. Moreover, the more Ning Cheng refined it, the weaker the black arrow became. Ning Cheng even suspected that one day, after he completely refined this black arrow, the black arrow would turn into nothingness. Ning Cheng ignored it and focused on refining the entire black arrow. Even if he refined the black arrow into nothingness, he would never give up. 70th layer of restrictions, 71st layer of restrictions, 80th layer of restrictions, 92nd layer of restrictions, 98th layer of restrictions. Another month passed by, and Ning Cheng had already refined the 106th layer of restrictions. The black arrow had already turned into a faint shadow, but it still hadn't been refined. 107th layer of restrictions, 108th layer of restrictions. Catcha! A slight sound emerged and Ning Cheng looked at his palm in shock. The black arrow originally had a faint shadow, but after he refined the 108th layer of restrictions, the shadow disappeared without a trace. Did this foreign heaven's arrow disappear after he refined it? Before Ning Cheng could continue to search for the reason, a stream of information poured into Ning Cheng's mind. 5-colored star splitter arrow, no bow, no arrow, no stars not split. This arrow was clearly black in color, but it had the name 5-colored star splitter arrow. Ning Cheng wouldn't have felt surprised even if it was called the colorless star splitter arrow. But 5 colors, where did these 5 colors come from? No bow, no arrow, no stars not split. What did this mean? Moreover, where did the 5-colored star splitter arrow he had just refined go? Ning Cheng quickly found out where the arrow had gone. There was a faint shadow on his wrist that he couldn't even see with his eyes. As soon as he tried to communicate with it, he could clearly feel that the arrow on his wrist was still colorless. Ning Cheng determined that this arrow was the same foreign heaven's arrow he had just refined. Ning Cheng's thoughts rolled up, wanting to bring out the arrow to give it a try. Immediately, he felt a majestic and boundless murderous aura. This murderous aura permeated the entire arrow. Ning Cheng had a hunch that if he wanted to bring out this arrow, he would have to exhaust almost all of his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. Moreover, he might not even be able to bring it out completely. What a powerful 5-colored star splitter arrow, Ning Cheng thought as he sucked in a breath of cold air. He naturally had a clear understanding of his own cultivation, and he had always had confidence in his spiritual consciousness. However, he couldn't bring out this black arrow. This arrow was just too ferocious. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.